Chapter 2983, Higher Ups. He killed a peak false saint in the assessment? Why didn't you say so earlier? You didn't mention him in the report you gave me. Prince Qianqin said in a low voice. Your Highness, we only found out after careful investigation. During the assessment, Heavenly Sword Marquis did kill a peak false saint in the Supreme Divinity realm. His combat strength was comparable to a normal true saint. At that time, Princess Long Yun and Princess Shuiyu, who also came from the Heaven and Earth Palace, saw it with their own eyes. The man in the triangular helmet said. Long Yun and Shuiyu, the two of them? Prince Qianqin's expression changed. He was also a genius from the Heaven and Earth Palace, so he naturally knew about Long Yun and Shuiyu. At that time, Prince Long Yun and Prince Shuiyu were also shocked by the talent of Heavenly Sword Marquis. They decided on the spot that Heavenly Sword Marquis could definitely enter the Primitive Palace and even had a chance to enter the Primal Chaos Palace. Therefore, the two of them immediately went to invite Heavenly Sword Marquis, but he rejected them. Royal Highness Long Yun and Royal Highness Shuiyu had no choice but to report this matter to the higher-ups of the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance. For some unknown reason, the higher-ups of the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance have yet to make any movements. However, they have concealed quite a bit of information about Heavenly Sword Marquis. We only found out about this matter because this mission concerns you, Royal Highness Qianqin, said the man in the triangular helmet. Is that so? His Highness Qianqin raised his eyebrows and asked, How long has it been since the last test? 80 years, the man in the triangular helmet said. Hearing this, His Highness Qianqin's pupils shrank. In other words, during these 80 years, Heavenly Sword Marquis still hasn't broken through to the Immortal Saint level, but his battle strength has soared again. Before, he only had the battle strength of a first-level true saint, but now he has the battle strength of a second-level true saint. Is it enough to fight with me? That's right, but it doesn't exclude the fact that he had hidden his strength 80 years ago, the triangular-shaped battle helmet man said. Humph, no matter what, Heavenly Sword Marquis is an out-and-out super genius. Long Yun and Shuiyu were right. If he really is just a divine master, then with the battle prowess he has displayed now, he can easily join the Primal Palace. It's not even a problem for him to join the Primal Chaos Palace. I just didn't think that my luck would be so good. In the entire beginning divine world, there are billions of geniuses in a single era. Only a dozen or so are qualified to join the Primal Chaos Palace. But this time I actually met one? Prince Qianqin sighed inwardly. The Heaven-Earth Palace and the Primal Chaos Palace were both places where geniuses gathered, but the difference between the two was like heaven and earth. The Primal Chaos Palace's super genius was definitely more than 100 times stronger than him, and it was even more than that. Such a genius was rare in the entire beginning divine realm. He was lucky to have met one. Your Highness Qianqin, we have reported the matter of Heavenly Marquis Sword in detail. I believe that the higher-ups of the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance will know how to handle it properly, said the man in the triangular helmet. How else can we get out? Such a super genius is coveted by every major force in the beginning divine world. The Heaven-Cleaving Alliance is no exception. If I'm not wrong, those old fellows of the three palaces of the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance are already thinking of ways to rope in the Heavenly Sword Marquis, said His Highness Qianqin with a strange smile. Forget it, I've already completed my mission. The rest of the matters have nothing to do with me. They'll let those old fellows handle it themselves. As for Heavenly Sword Marquis, although I admire his talent, the competition among the three palaces is already very intense. There's even a limited number of spots in the Chaos Palace. If he were to take another spot, the competition among us would be even greater. Therefore it's best if he doesn't join us. After saying a few words, Prince Qianqin left. The vast beginning divine world was vast and boundless. And there were many places in the beginning divine world that were still in a state of chaos. At this moment, in a chaotic void, three ancient and powerful existences were gathered together. Any one of these three existences was enough to intimidate an entire region. Any one of them was enough to make the immortal saint kneel and tremble. This just came from the endless territory. Take a look. A three-eyed man over 3 meters tall with bronze skin casually threw out a token. As soon as the token was thrown out, a huge mirror image immediately appeared. In the image, it was the fierce battle between Huocang and Prince Qianqin in the Dragon Flame world. The three super existences looked at the scene in the mirror image with great interest. I know this little guy. His name is Qianqin, and he comes from the Heaven and Earth Palace of our Heaven-Cleaving Alliance. Although he's not the best among the many little guys in the Heaven and Earth Palace, he's still very outstanding. Moreover, he just broke through to the Immortal Saint not long ago. Logically speaking, he should have completed the experiential learning mission by now, a green-haired woman said. Her voice was soft and gentle, making people feel as refreshing as a breeze. He is indeed on a training mission. The content of this mission is rather simple. The three-eyed man briefly recounted the contents of Princess Chen Chen's mission. Then he continued, originally this training mission didn't have much pressure on him. As long as he is careful not to let those who possess the Dragon Flame Beast's corpse escape, he will be able to complete the 100% mission. However, it is clear that his luck isn't that good. Haha, I can see that. An old man with white hair smiled. The 12 teams were originally made up of several peak false saints and 2 or 3 first-rank true saints. But now he has encountered an extremely powerful little guy in this team. The old man had already seen the scene in which Huocang used the reincarnation sword formation and his own swordsmanship to fight head-on with Princess Chen Chen, and he faintly gained the upper hand. This little guy with a sword is comprehending both the reincarnation rule and the space-time rule at the same time, and he is using his own swordsmanship and sword formation to perfectly combine the 2 rules. Not bad, the green-haired woman said in surprise. You should pay attention to the aura that the little guy is emitting, the three-eyed man said. This aura, Divine Master. The green-haired woman and the vicissitudes of life elder were both surprised. It can't be. He fought Chen Chen head-on and didn't lose at all. In the end, he's just a reverent god-level expert? The green-haired woman immediately looked at the three-eyed man. Is this little guy's realm certain? He was certain before, but now he's a little uncertain. The three-eyed man shook his head and began to explain. Previously, when this little guy participated in the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance's assessment, he displayed extraordinary talent. He killed a peak false saint with his Divine Master level cultivation. At that time we thought that he should be a peak genius. But now... Chapter 2984, I will go there personally. Right now this little guy is at the same level as Chen Chen when he's at the Supreme God realm. He has the battle strength of a second-level true saint, and he's not weak among the second-level true saints. He directly crossed 3 levels, and there's also the great realm of the Supreme God realm and the Immortal Saint. With such a terrifying ability to cross levels, even the top monsters of the Primal Chaos Palace can't compare to him, the three-eyed man said in a deep voice. The green-haired woman and the vicissitudes of life elder nodded slightly. Indeed, the heaven-cleaving 3 palaces were full of geniuses and all kinds of monsters. For example, the peak geniuses of the Chaos Palace could only be described as terrifying. However, even the peak geniuses of the Chaos Palace could not cross 3 levels at once like Jianghu, who could rival a second-level true saint. No one in the Chaos Palace could do that. It's precisely because he can't do it that I have to wonder if he has really cultivated a special breath-holding technique and whether he has reached the realm of the Immortal Saint, the three-eyed man said solemnly. The green-haired woman and the vicissitudes of life elder looked at each other and smiled faintly. What they saw now was only a mirror image sent by someone else, not Jianghu. They had not really felt the aura from Jianghu, so they could not be sure whether Jianghu was a divine master or not. In fact, when this little guy completed the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance's assessment, the 2 disciples of the Heaven and Earth Palace who were present at the time had already sent an invitation to him, but he rejected it. Although the talent he displayed at that time was extraordinary, at most, he could only join the primitive palace. According to the rules of the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance, since he had already been invited once unless the other party was really too dazzling, he wouldn't invite him a second time. Therefore we haven't made any moves over the years, but now, if this little guy had already broken through to the Immortal Saint realm, it would be fine. But if he really is just a divine master, then such a monster is rare in the entire history of the beginning divine realm, not to mention in the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance. He is definitely qualified for the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance to send out a second or even a third invitation, the three-eyed man said solemnly. The green-haired woman and the weathered elder nodded in unison. Indeed, if he really was just a divine master, then such a supreme monster was enough for the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance to spend a great price to rope him in and nurture him. How about this? Since no one can determine this little fellow's true realm, then this old man will personally make a trip. The weathered elder suddenly stood up. You will personally make a trip? The three-eyed man and the green-haired woman looked over in astonishment. This little fellow's comprehension of the laws of spacetime isn't weak, and he is also skilled in the Tao of the sword. Unfortunately, the level of the absolute art he created is too weak. I can just give him some pointers. This way, if he really is a super genius, he will definitely feel grateful under this old man's guidance. When that time comes, this old man will invite him again, and the chances of him agreeing to it will be much higher. The old man laughed. The three-eyed man and the green-haired woman nodded slightly. If that's the case, Then he'll have to trouble you to make a trip, the three-eyed man said. It's no trouble. This old man hasn't been to the endless territories for a long time. He'll just take this trip as a way to relax. The weathered elder smiled, and his figure flashed as he disappeared from the spot. In one of the heaven-cleaving alliance's nests, the 8 members of the Barbarian King team were already handing over their tasks. After the handover, they got 220 million sacred elixirs as they wished. Haha, more than 200 million sacred elixirs. I've never seen so many sacred elixirs in my life, the immortal saint named Achao said in surprise. Shoo, keep your voice down, the Barbarian King shouted. Achao stuck out his tongue. Brother Heavenly Marquis. The Barbarian King walked directly toward Jianghu. According to what I said before, of the 220 million sacred elixirs, 100 million are given to you directly after completing the second stage. As for the 20 million sacred elixirs in the first stage, it will be counted as 4 million sacred elixirs according to your previous contribution. What do you think? The Barbarian King was seeking Jian Wushuang's opinion. If Jian Wushuang asked for more sacred elixirs, he would agree directly. Forget about the 4 million sacred elixirs. I only want the 100 million, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. That's good. The Barbarian King naturally smiled. Everyone immediately began to distribute. Jian Wushuang received 100 million sacred elixirs, and the remaining 120 million sacred elixirs were divided equally among the Barbarian King and the other 7 people. In the end, each of them received a significant amount of sacred elixirs. Everyone was quite happy. Brother Heavenly Marquis, this task has been completed, and next, the Barbarian King looked at Jian Wushuang again. Next, I want to explore on my own, Jian Wushuang said with a smile. Hearing this, the Barbarian King and the others looked at each other. Although they felt a little regretful, they could understand. Jian Wushuang's strength was obvious. He could easily complete a 3-star Earth-level task alone, so there was no need for him to stay with this team. To put it bluntly, this team was nothing but a burden to Jian Wushuang. In that case, we'll take our leave again, the Barbarian King said. Okay. Jian Wushuang nodded slightly. Brother Heavenly Marquis, let's meet again in the future, Shuodong King said. Okay. Jian Wushuang waved his hand and then separated from the Barbarian King team. When they separated, Jian Wushuang could still vaguely hear the Barbarian King team members talking to Shuodong King. Shuodong King, it's all thanks to you introducing such a powerful friend to our team. Otherwise, our team wouldn't have been able to escape unscathed and get so much reward. Yes, your good friend is really amazing. It's funny that we thought your friend was just a divine master and would become a burden to us. But now it seems that we are his burden. Hearing the voices behind him, Jian Wushuang could only smile helplessly. And then, the Earth-level 3-star mission usually only faces some first-rank true saints. This mission is just special and the reward is so great that it is more difficult. But I can still complete it. In other words, with my strength, it shouldn't be difficult to complete an ordinary Earth-level 3-star mission, Jian Wushuang thought to himself. He had completed a special 3-star Earth-level task with the Barbarian King team, so Jian Wushuang had a basic understanding of this level of task. Next, he naturally had to take 3 3-star Earth-level tasks alone. After completing 3 3-star Earth-level tasks, he could become a Heaven-level member, and his authority would be even greater. Chapter 2985. Different time and space. However, before I continue to accept the 3-star Earth-level task, I got 100 million sacred elixirs. I can go to Lord Qianshou and see if I can exchange them for something good. Jian Wushuang smiled and immediately went to the treasure pavilion. Sir Qianshou, I need some sword skill manuals that can be used to observe and comprehend, and also involve the space-time rules, Jian Wushuang said directly. He knew very well what he lacked now. It was the absolute art that he created. The sword skill, the first move of the storm, was too weak. He really needed to create a stronger absolute art now. This absolute art had to be able to perfectly display his comprehension of the space-time rules. There are too many sword skills related to the space-time rules in my treasure pavilion. I'll give you a list first. Take a look for yourself. Lord Qianshou took out a list and handed it to Jian Wushuang. Jian Wushuang glanced at it casually, but he could not help staring at it. The list given by Lord Qianshou was indeed full of various sword skills related to the power of the space-time rules. The key point was that there were so many swordsmanship manuals on the list that there must be at least tens of millions of them. Is it all here? Jian Wushuang could not help looking at Lord Qianshou. No, this is only a part of it. After you have selected this list, if you are not satisfied, I will give you a second list, Lord Qianshou said straightforwardly. Jian Wuxuang was speechless. Then he said directly, Lord Tianshou, the sword skill manuals I want are of a higher level, preferably created by a true saint expert. No problem. Lord Tianshou was silent for a moment, then he took out another list and gave it to Jian Wuxuang. There were fewer sword skill manuals on this list, but there were still tens of thousands of them. Jian Wuxuang selected a few sword skill manuals and browsed through them for a while, but he secretly shook his head. It was true that these sword skills involved the rules of spacetime, but the power of the rules of spacetime was not very profound. It was not too difficult for Jian Wuxuang, so it was naturally less helpful. Even though the sword skill manuals were of a higher level, Jian Wuxuang was still somewhat dissatisfied. Although these sword skill manuals are extraordinary, I'm afraid there are only a few of them that can enlighten me and help me a lot. Most importantly, I don't know which direction I should go. Jian Wuxuang frowned. At first, he wanted to ask Lord Tianshou to recommend to him which sword skill he should choose, but he was unfortunately rejected by Lord Tianshou. According to Lord Tianshou, he could judge the sword art that would help him the most according to Jian Wuxuang's current situation. However, he would not tell Jian Wuxuang that he would have to pay a price, at least 100 million sacred elixirs. Jian Wuxuang was helpless about this. Forget it. It won't be long before I become a heaven-grade member of the Heaven-Slaying Alliance. By then, heaven-grade members will have more authority, and the value of the treasures they can exchange for will be higher. When that time comes, I will carefully come here and choose a sword art manual that is suitable for me to comprehend. Jian Wuxuang muttered. He had already made up his mind. After leaving the treasure pavilion, Jian Wuxuang returned to the counter of the secret lair. Accept the mission, Jian Wuxuang said directly and took out his identity token at the same time. In front of the counter was a demonic youth with long purple hair. The demonic youth glanced at Jian Wuxuang with a faint silver luster in his eyes and did not pay much attention to it. However, when he took the identity token from Jian Wuxuang, his expression suddenly changed. Heavenly Sword Marquis? You are Heavenly Sword Marquis? The devilish purple-haired young man stared at Jian Wuxuang. Yes, it's me. What's the matter? Jian Wuxuang asked with a frown. Oh, it's like this. The devilish purple-haired young man immediately reacted. Mr. Heavenly Sword Marquis, not long ago the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance sent an order saying that a lord from the headquarters of the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance has personally rushed to the Endless Territory to see you. Therefore he asked us to inform you when we see you. If you have nothing urgent, please wait here for a moment. I'll immediately send a message to the higher-ups. The Lord will come to see you soon. A big shot from the headquarters of the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance wants to see me? Jian Wuxuang was startled and immediately became alert. However, he immediately relaxed. He could tell that the big shot from the headquarters of the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance was not here to find trouble with him. After all, if the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance wanted to harm him, they would not have told him to wait here in advance. Now, the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance probably had only one purpose. Jian Wuxuang had vaguely guessed the purpose of the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance. How long will it take for the big shot to arrive? Jian Wuxuang asked. It shouldn't take 3 days, the purple-haired demonic youth said. The headquarters of the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance was indeed very far from the Endless Territory, but there were many space passages in between. It did not take too long to travel from the headquarters of the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance to the Endless Territory. 3 days was enough. Well, I'll wait here for 3 days, Jian Wuxuang agreed. 3 days passed quickly. Mr. Heavenly Marquis Jian, the Lord has arrived. Please follow me. The purple-haired demonic youth appeared in front of Jian Wuxuang and led him to the inner hall of the nest. There was almost no light in the darkroom. Under the guidance of the purple-haired demonic youth, Jian Wuxuang came to the darkroom. As soon as he arrived, Jian Wuxuang saw an old figure with his back facing him. The old figure was not tall and he was very thin. He had his hands behind his back and did not emit any aura. However, the moment Jian Wuxuang saw the old figure, he felt as if he saw a complete spacetime. Yes, a spacetime that was completely independent and incompatible with the surrounding world. This spacetime was so strange that Jian Wuxuang was stunned at the first moment. He did not expect that there could be two spacetime in the world at the same time. One was the spacetime under the natural circulation of the heavenly Tao. What he saw now was clearly a new spacetime formed by the old figure with great means. In this new spacetime, except for himself, no one else's spacetime power would have any effect. The move that Jian Wuxuang was good at, the heaven-designated skill, caused the spacetime to be temporarily frozen. However, no matter how powerful his move was, even if it was 10 or 100 times stronger, it would not affect the old figure at all. Because the old figure was completely in a new time and space. Chapter 2986. Embryonic form of swordsmanship, my lord, the heavenly sword marquis has arrived. The violet-haired devilish youth stared at the elderly figure, his eyes flashing with reverence. You may leave. The elderly figure waved his hand, and the violet-haired devilish youth immediately turned around and left. After his death, the elderly figure slowly turned around, revealing an elderly face. He had white hair and looked like he had entered his twilight years. However, his vitality was abnormally strong. His deep eyes were like black explosions, full of vigor. His aura was extremely unique, as if he had been through endless wind and rain. He had experienced vicissitudes of life. At this moment, the vicissitudes of life elder were staring at Huocang with interest. As expected, he is only a divine master. The vicissitude elder felt a trace of joy in his heart. He had just come, so he was not too sure about Huocang's talent and strength. Because they had not seen Huocang in person before, they could not determine whether Huocang was really just a divine master. But now that he had seen it with his own eyes, he could sense that Huocang was indeed just a divine master. If an existence like him could not see any flaws, then Huocang must be just a divine master. I am Shan from the heaven-cleaving 3 palaces. The weathered elder said. Heavenly Sword Marquis, greetings, sir. Huocang was extremely respectful. When he saw the weathered elder Shan, he could already tell that the latter was a genuine rule master. Rule masters were the top existences in the entire divine beginning world. They were all super experts who could intimidate everyone. How could such a super expert come to the endless territory in person? Little guy, look at this first. Shan waved his hand casually, and a huge mirror image immediately appeared around him. In the mirror image, Huocang and Prince Chen were fighting head-on. Huocang was very familiar with this scene and recognized it at a glance. What Huocang did not know was why Shan took out the mirror image token. Little guy, you have a good understanding of the reincarnation rule and have obtained a sword formation that is very suitable for you to use. You have perfectly displayed your understanding of the reincarnation rule, but in terms of the space-time rule, you have a lot of room for improvement, Shan explained. Let's not talk about the space-time rules. Just in terms of swordsmanship. If I'm not wrong, it shouldn't be too long for your comprehension of the sword principle to reach the second stage, the boundless sword tree. It's not too long, Huocang admitted. That's right. His comprehension of the sword principle is not very high, but the power of your sword tree is very strong. It's not surprising that your foundation is too strong. Although you have just broken through, the boundless sword skill in your body is at least 20,000 feet high. Only such a powerful boundless sword tree can make your swordsmanship so strong, Shan said with a smile. Huocang frowned slightly. Shan seemed to have seen through him with just a mirror image of his fierce battle with Prince Chen. His comprehension of the sword principle was indeed not very high. As for why his swordsmanship was so powerful, that was his innate advantage. His boundless swordsmanship was 3,300 feet tall, which was much more powerful than many top true saints. Your comprehension of laws and sword Tao has already surpassed divine masters, and some have even reached the true saint level. Logically speaking, you should already have the conditions to break through to become an immortal saint. However, it is precisely because your talent is too high and your potential is too great that you still have some room for improvement. If I'm not wrong, the space for improvement lies in the absolute art you created. You must create a stronger absolute art so that your strength can be saturated. Only then can you find an opportunity to make a breakthrough, Shan added. It's like this. Huocang nodded. I'm also thinking of creating a stronger sword art. Since you want to create swordsmanship, I can give you a suggestion, Shan said. Huocang listened carefully. You can try to tear and cut your swordsmanship, Shan said. In the picture when you were fighting with the little guy, the sword essence that you burst out was mainly sharp. Even the natal magic weapon in your hand is most terrifying because of its sharpness. The sword essence and magic weapon are both the same. Naturally, the swordsmanship that you created should be mainly about tearing and cutting. Or if you have the time and energy, you can even create a complete set of swordsmanship. Create a complete set of swordsmanship? Huocang was stunned. Yes. Shan smiled and said, swordsmanship can be used to attack, defend, cut, and explode. It can be involved in all aspects. It's only because of the relationship between your sword essence and the use of magic weapons that I mind you taking the path of tearing and cutting. But in fact, if you have the time and energy and good perception, you can try to create a complete set of swordsmanship that involves all aspects. Once such swordsmanship has an outline, it can be improved and perfected as one's comprehension of the rules and swordsmanship improves. The power of this swordsmanship will naturally become stronger and stronger. In the future, you don't need to spend so much time creating new swordsmanship. Not only can it save time, but it can also make your swordsmanship more complete. Upon hearing Mo Shan's words, Jian Wuxuang's expression became solemn. Creating a complete sword art and improving it in the future? It was not that Jian Wuxuang had not thought of this method. However, a complete sword art must involve all aspects and have a complete embryonic form. This embryonic form was the most important. Just like how a person built a house, how high and how strong the building was depended on the foundation. If the foundation was not firm, the house could easily collapse. The same was true for swordsmanship. If Jian Wuxuang really wanted to complete the step mentioned by Mo Shan, it would not be easy. After all, his current swordsmanship involved the rules and sword principles, which were unfathomable. Under such circumstances, it was not difficult for him to just create an embryonic form. The key was that this embryonic form had a lot of room for growth. It would be much more difficult for him to keep improving. Previously, Jian Wuxuang did not have the confidence to create such an embryonic form of swordsmanship. But now, despite Mo Shan's suggestion, he still did not have the confidence. Little guy, your talent is very high. This embryonic form of sword principle should not be difficult for you. At most, it will only take a little time. But if you continue to pursue a higher level of swordsmanship, it will be easy for you to create more powerful swordsmanship now, but it will be difficult in the future, Mo Shan said. Chapter 2987, Gold-Splitting Secret Manual. Jian Wuxuang's expression changed again. Indeed, he felt that it was getting harder and harder to create a new sword skill. For example, the spacetime sword skill had a huge threshold from the 7th movement. Every time he wanted to create a new sword skill, it was extremely difficult. After the 9th move, the 1st move, the storm, it was even more difficult to create the 10th move. Sir Mo Shan, to tell you the truth, I do have the idea to create the embryonic form of swordsmanship, but I have never received the guidance of an expert in the sword principle of a mission, and there is nothing I can do indirectly. It's too difficult to create the embryonic form of swordsmanship, Jian Wuxuang said in a deep voice. Learn from it? Mo Shan smiled. It's easy to learn from it. There are all kinds of secret manuals on sword principle in the treasure pavilion of the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance. Many of them can be used as a reference for you. I know a secret manual that will be of great help to you. Which secret manual? Jian Wuxuang asked. This secret manual is called the Gold-Splitting Secret Manual. It was created many years ago by an expert named Gold-Splitting. Mo Shan smiled. Gold-splitting? Jian Wuxuang's expression did not change. Obviously he had never heard of it. Gold-Splitting, the Gold-Splitting Master. When he was alive, he was very famous in the divine beginning world. Not only was he a rule master, but he was also one of the top rule masters, second only to the legendary Saint Realm Master, Mo Shan explained. And this gold-splitting master was a rule master who had completely comprehended the laws of time and space. In addition, his forte was also sword Dao. The void sword technique he created was one of the top sword techniques in the divine beginning realm. Although it still focused on cutting and tearing, this sword technique also involved many aspects. The Gold-Splitting Secret Manual was the precious legacy left behind by the Gold-Splitting Master. During this period, not only did it contain his own void sword technique, but it also included his understanding of the laws of time and space as well as sword techniques. He even dissected the laws of time and space and sword Dao in great detail and recorded them in the Gold-Splitting Secret Manual. For example, he dissected the first stage of the space-time rule, the space-time illusion body, and the second stage, the space-time blade, into a total of 1,000 copies. Each copy represented a space-time blade, which was extremely detailed. It was the same with the sword principle. It even included how to combine the space-time rule and sword principle perfectly. It was explained in detail in the Gold-Splitting Secret Manual. Upon hearing Mo Shan's words, Jian Wuxuang's eyes became fervent. Previously, when he was in the treasure pavilion, he had no idea what to look for, so he had no idea where to start. But now, after hearing Mo Shan's Gold-Splitting Secret Manual, the space-time rule was perfectly combined with the sword principle, and he even dissected it perfectly, including the void swordsmanship created by the Gold-Splitting Master. Just by listening to this secret manual, Jian Wuxuang knew that it was very useful to him. Whether it was comprehending the space-time rule, comprehending the sword principle, or even creating the embryonic form of the swordsmanship, it could be of great use. Master Mo Shan, the Gold-Splitting Secret Manual is so amazing. Its value must be very shocking, right? Jian Wuxuang asked. Of course, the complete Gold-Splitting Secret Manual is precious, but as far as I know, the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance has long divided the gold-splitting secret manual into 4 volumes so that the experts of the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance can have more opportunities to exchange for treasures. If it's a single volume, its value should not be much higher. As for how much it is worth, you have to ask Master Qianshou, Emo-shan said with a smile. Jian Wuxuang nodded slightly, but in his heart, he also noticed how Emo-shan addressed Sir Qianshua. Emo-shan, as a rule master, also called Sir Qianshua respectfully. Obviously, Sir Tianshuo's status in the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance was much higher than that of an ordinary rule master. In fact, it's very easy to learn from him. The most important thing is still guidance. Emo-shan suddenly became serious. Having an expert by your side to guide you and blindly exploring and cultivating alone are 2 completely different things. Jian Wuxuang understood. He did not deny this point. With an expert's personal guidance, people could avoid many detours and unnecessary steps. They could spend all their time changing places so they would naturally grow faster. Little guy, I have already introduced that I come from the 3 palaces of Heaven-Cleaving. The 3 palaces of Heaven-Cleaving are full of geniuses, and there are countless experts. Any genius disciple who joins the 3 palaces of Heaven-Cleaving will receive the greatest amount of training and will naturally receive the best guidance. Do you want to go to the 3 palaces of Heaven-Cleaving with me? Emo-shan looked at Jian Wuxuang. Jian Wuxuang was a little excited, but his pupils suddenly shrank and he suddenly woke up. This Emo-shan. On the surface, Jian Wuxuang still looked the same, but he was secretly surprised. He had guessed that this important figure from the headquarters of the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance came to him, probably because he valued his talent and wanted to invite him to join the 3 palaces of Heaven-Cleaving. He had been keeping an eye out for him. However, when he saw Emo-shan, the latter did not mention this matter at all. Instead, he was very friendly and did not put on any airs as he gave him some pointers and suggestions. These pointers and suggestions were indeed helpful to him. In particular, Emo-shan told him about the gold-splitting secret manual, which made him very moved. It made him very grateful to Emo-shan. However, Emo-shan changed the topic and asked him to join the 3 Heavens-Cleaving Palaces in a different way. He was so tempted that he almost agreed. Taking a deep breath, Jian Wuxuang said solemnly, Master Emo-shan, I'm sorry. I don't plan to join the 3 Heaven-Cleaving Palaces for the time being. Oh. Emo-shan narrowed his eyes and looked surprised. Little guy, I know that 2 geniuses of the Heaven and Earth Palace have invited you, but they are only disciples of the Heaven and Earth Palace. They don't know much about the 3 palaces. Moreover, with your talent, it's possible for you to enter the strongest Chaos Palace. The resources that the disciples of the Chaos Palace have are far beyond those of the Heaven and Earth Palace and the Primitive Palace. The 2 little guys don't know about it, so they can't explain it to you. But I can tell you one by one. Emo-shan was ready to tell Jian Wuxuang some of the resources that the disciples of the Chaos Palace had. But before he could start, Jian Wuxuang shook his head and refused. I'm sorry, Master Emo-shan, I really don't want to join the Heaven-Cleaving 3 palaces. Emo-shan frowned and did not continue. He took a deep look at Jian Wuxuang. Little guy, you have to think carefully. According to the rules of the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance, as long as you were rejected once, you won't be invited again. I came here personally because of your amazing talent. If you refuse me, then in the future. Chapter 2988. What a pity. What a pity. Although Emo-shan did not finish his sentence, his meaning was clear. Under normal circumstances, the Heaven-Cleaving Union would only invite the same genius once. Only those super geniuses who were very, very talented would have the opportunity to invite him a second time. For example, Jian Wuxuang, a divine master, had the battle strength of a second-ranked true saint. It was incredible. He was the kind of genius who could be invited a second time. However, if Jian Wuxuang refused the second time, the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance would never invite him a third time. In the history of the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance, there had never been a genius who had invited the same genius 3 times. Hearing Emo-shan's words, Jian Wuxuang sighed in his heart. It was not that he was not interested in the 3 palaces. He also knew that entering the 3 palaces to cultivate was much faster than cultivating alone. There would be more room for growth and more achievements in the future. However, he had too many concerns, so he did not dare to appear in the eyes of the top experts of the major forces. Master Emo-shan, I'm sorry. Jian Wuxuang said one last word, bowed respectfully, and then turned to leave. Emo-shan looked at Jian Wuxuang's back, still frowning, but he did not ask him to stay. Until Jian Wuxuang left, Emo-shan began to ponder. I have already used a special method to guide him, and it seems that he is obviously interested in the Chaos Palace, but in the end he still refused? Emo-shan's expression was quite strange. He had been watching Jian Wuxuang's reaction. When he saw that Jian Wuxuang was tempted by his words, he thought it was going to be a success. He did not expect Jian Wuxuang to reject him at the last moment, and so completely, he did not even have time to finish talking about the rights and benefits of some disciples of the Chaos Palace. Obviously, there was no room for negotiation. He was obviously tempted, but he refused to join the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance. Could it be that this little guy has a grudge against a big figure of the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance and has many concerns? Emo Shan muttered. No matter what, Jian Wuxuang was only a divine master, and he was just a little guy to the huge Heaven-Cleaving Alliance. Such a little guy would never have a deep grudge with the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance. Even if there was a grudge, the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance would probably not continue to blame him because of his high talent. Under such circumstances, Jian Wuxuang still had so many misgivings. In his opinion, there was only one possibility, which was that Jian Wuxuang had a deep personal enmity with an expert of the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance. The second invitation was rejected, so the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance will definitely not invite him a third time. It seems that this super genius is destined to be unable to become a disciple of the Heaven-Cleaving Three Palaces. What a pity, what a pity. Emo Shan secretly praised him and then left. In the treasure pavilion, the golden light shadow, Lord Tianshou, gathered in front of Jian Wuxuang. Lord Tianshou, I want to ask you to find the gold-splitting secret manual, Jian Wuxuang said directly. Gold-splitting secret manual? Lord Tianshou's expression changed. It was left by an extremely powerful rule master, the gold-splitting master. It's a secret manual that combines the space-time rule and sword principle. By the way, it also contains the void swordsmanship created by the gold-splitting master, Jian Wuxuang said immediately. I know. Lord Tianshou nodded slightly. You're quite capable. The gold-splitting secret manual is not only extraordinary, but it's also the most suitable for you. Who taught you? Well, Jian Wuxuang smiled faintly but did not answer. Lord Tianshou shrugged. It's useless to tell you. There is indeed a gold-splitting secret manual in the treasure pavilion, and all 4 volumes are available. However, even the first level of the 4 volumes of the gold-splitting secret manual requires the permission of a heaven-level member to exchange for it. What? Jian Wuxuang was stunned. The first volume required the permission of a heaven-level member? Was the level of the gold-splitting secret manual so high? With my current strength, completing 3 Earth-level 3-star missions should be nothing. It won't take long for me to become a heaven-level member, Jian Wuxuang murmured. Then he asked, Sir Tianshou, how many sacred elixirs do you need to exchange for the first volume of the gold-splitting secret manual? Not much, 800 million. Sir Tianshou said directly. Jian Wuxuang could not help being stunned. 800 million sacred elixirs? Just 1 volume? This is too expensive. Jian Wuxuang could not help but click his tongue. He thought that he had just completed the special 3-star Earth-level mission and obtained 100 million sacred elixirs, which was enough. If he really could not, he still had the Destruction Beast God statue. If he exchanged for the Destruction Beast God statue from Sir Tianshou, he could also exchange for 500 million sacred elixirs, which added up to 600 million. However, he did not expect that with 600 million sacred elixirs in hand, he could not exchange for the first volume of the gold-splitting secret manual. It seems that I have to find a way to get some sacred elixirs, Jian Wuxuang murmured. For now, if he wanted to get enough sacred elixirs as soon as possible, he had to find a way to complete the task. Jian Wuxuang came to the hall of the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance and began to read the 3-star Earth-level tasks. The endless territory was vast and had endless territories. There were countless secret nests of the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance. In such a vast territory, the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance naturally issued many 3-star Earth-level tasks. Jian Wuxuang began to read carefully. This mission is quite difficult. With my strength alone, I can barely complete it, but the final reward is only 20 million sacred elixirs. Is too little? Although the reward is very high with 50 million sacred elixirs, the place to go is one of the truly forbidden places. Even a rank 2 or 3 true saints could die or be lost forever. I'm not afraid of death. It's not easy to kill me, but it's too difficult to be lost forever. Forget it. This mission is too risky. It's not suitable. Jian Wuxuang read carefully and finally decided on 3 missions. These 3 missions were all 3-star Earth-level missions, which were quite difficult, especially the last one. The first and second missions were all rewarded with 40 million sacred elixirs. As for the third mission, the reward was 100 million sacred elixirs, which added up to 180 million sacred elixirs. If I can complete all 3 missions with the sacred elixirs I have, and sell the Destruction Beast God statue, I can barely make up 800 million sacred elixirs. Jian Wuxuang's eyes sparkled. Soon he went to accept the task. Chapter 2989, Godless Sea Area. The sky was dark. Below was a vast sea area. It was not only huge but also unusually quiet. Whoosh! A figure appeared around the sea area and looked ahead. Is this the Godless Sea Area? Jian Wuxuang muttered. The Godless Sea Area was also in the Endless Territory, but it was a relatively prosperous territory. There were many experts in this territory. It was said that there were many bandits hidden in the Godless Sea Area during the period. These bandits had very high levels of strength, including many immortal saints. It's been a year, Jian Wuxuang murmured. I spent a year to complete the 2 3-star Earth-level missions. Now the Godless Sea Area is the last 3-star Earth-level mission. I hope everything will go smoothly. He had taken 3 3-star Earth-level missions in the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance. Although the first 2 missions had caused him some trouble along the way, he had only spent a little more time and effort. He still completed the 2 missions. The 2 missions added up to 80 million sacred elixirs, and now they were in his hands. Now he was doing the last task he had accepted. It was the most difficult and highest paid task, with 100 million sacred elixirs. Taking a deep breath, Jian Wuxuang quickly flew into the depths of the sea. In the center of the Godless Sea, there was an uninhabited island. The island looked very peaceful, but in fact it was just because someone had set up a magic array on the island. There was a team hidden on the island. There were more than 10 people in this team, and all of them were experts. There were 8 immortal saints alone, so of course they were only false saints. The team was led by 2 people. One was a bald old man in a white robe, and the other was a slightly chubby youth. Uncle Lei, we've been hiding here for more than a year. How much longer do we have to hide? The slightly chubby youth asked in a deep voice. No matter how long we wait, we have to wait. The white-robed bald elder, Uncle Lei, spoke. The Godless Sea Area is an incomparably vast sea region. There are no spatial passageways here. If we want to leave, we have to pass through the center of the Godless Sea Area. However, it's not like you don't know that the 4 overlords of the Godless Sea Area are frantically searching for our tracks. Once our tracks are discovered by them, the experts of the 4 overlords will directly charge over. There's no way for us to stop them. But isn't hiding here a solution? The chubby youth said. Although the Godless Sea is huge and has many islands, the 4 overlords have many experts under their command. They will spread out and search the islands carefully. Sooner or later they will find our island. 2 people have been to this island before, but they are only divine masters. They were bewitched by the illusory formation you set up, Uncle Lei. They couldn't see the reason. But if the next one comes as an immortal saint, Uncle Lei, I'm afraid your illusory formation won't be of much use, right? Uncle Lei's expression could not help but darken. Indeed, the illusory formation he set up on this island could bewitch ordinary divine masters, but it would be too difficult to bewitch an immortal saint. Once an immortal saint came to this island, he could definitely easily find them. As long as their whereabouts were exposed, it would be over. Don't worry. Master knows your situation here, so he made the arrangements long ago. He even paid a huge price to invite the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance. We've been waiting here for a year. If nothing unexpected happens, the experts of the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance should be arriving soon. Once the experts of the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance arrive, we can leave this Godless Sea Area. Uncle Lei said. Heaven-Cleaving Alliance? The chubby young man narrowed his eyes, and there was a flash of light in the depths of his eyes. Right at this moment, whoosh, a figure rushed over from afar and appeared in the void above the island in an instant. Someone's coming. Be careful, hide your aura well. Judging from the aura that this person is emitting, he's only at the Reverend God level. He shouldn't be able to see through the illusory formation Lord Lei set up. The experts in this group were discussing. Although they could not see the exact appearance of the figure above, they could feel the aura of the other party. They were not worried about a mere divine master. However, suddenly, the figure that had stopped in the void above the island suddenly accelerated and rushed down. What? He actually rushed in? Could it be that he saw through Lord Lei's illusory formation? The experts of this group were all shocked. Uncle Lei immediately activated the illusory formation, wanting to stop the other party. But in the end, the figure that rushed downwards was not affected by the illusory formation at all. Instead, it continued downwards, and in an instant, it passed through the illusory formation and appeared in front of the group. The experts in the team all took out their magic weapons and planned to attack. Stop, don't be rash. Uncle Lei shouted in a low voice and blocked the surrounding people. Then Uncle Lei glanced at Jian Wuxuang seriously. After a long while he finally said, "Are you from the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance?" "Yes." Jian Wuxuang nodded slightly. Sure enough. Uncle Lei was delighted. He had long known that the members of the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance were dressed like Jian Wuxuang, who was wearing a gray robe and a gray mask. It was obviously the standard equipment for the members of the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance. "You must be here on a mission from the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance, right?" Uncle Lei asked again. "Yes." Jian Wuxuang nodded again and looked around. "The mission I received was to protect a young master named Qin Dong and leave the Godless Sea alive. Which one of you is Qin Dong?" I am." The slightly plump young man immediately stood up. "Is that you?" Jian Wuxuang glanced at Qin Dong and said, "From today on, you follow me and I will take you out of the Godless Sea area alive." As soon as Jian Wuxuang finished his words, the experts in the surrounding teams all had strange expressions on their faces. "Little brother." Uncle Lei also looked over. "May I know your name?" "Heavenly Sword Marquis," Jian Wuxuang said. "My little friend Heavenly Sword Marquis, where are your teammates now?" Uncle Lei asked. "Teammates?" "No teammates." Jian Wuxuang shook his head directly. "No teammates? Are they teammates?" Uncle Lei asked again. "No. I took this mission alone, so naturally I am responsible for it," Jian Wuxuang said directly. "What?" Uncle Lei and the experts around the team were shocked. Chapter 2990, Bloodblade Island. "Sir, are you joking? Can you complete this mission alone?" Uncle Lei's expression turned cold. "Do you know where you are right now? This is the Godless Sea area. There are as many experts here as the clouds. There are even some immortal saints. I, young Master Jia, am being pursued by the 4 overlords of the Godless Sea area. There are more than 10 immortal saints in each of the 4 overlords, and their leaders are said to be at the peak of rank 1 true saint." Uncle Lei was interrupted by Jian Wuxuang with a wave of his hand before he could finish his words. "I know what you are talking about. The mission information that I received has a detailed introduction. I know more about the strength of the 4 overlords than you do. However, since I have received the mission information and know that the enemy strength is still daring enough to accept this mission, I naturally have the confidence to deal with it. You don't have to worry about that." Jian Wuxuang's voice was extremely cold. His words also aroused the disgust of many experts in this team. One had to know that this team had many immortal saints. Their young master had so many immortal saints escorting him, but in the end, he could only hide on this small island and did not dare to show his face at all. And now, a divine master had come to the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance. He actually dared to say that he had the confidence to deal with it? In the eyes of most of them, this was a joke. "Uncle Lei, what should we do?" Young Master Qin Dong immediately looked at Uncle Lei. Uncle Lei's face was gloomy. He stared at Jian Wuxuang, trying to see the change in his expression. Unfortunately, Jian Wuxuang had been wearing a mask all this time. The only thing that was exposed was his eyes, which were unusually cold. He could not figure out why. This time, the master asked the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance to issue a unique mission. That means that if anyone in the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance accepts this mission, no one else will accept it during the mission period. However, if the other party wants to accept this mission, he must have the strength to complete the mission. The Heaven-Cleaving Alliance will also test the difficulty of the mission. And now, the Heavenly Sword Marquis has passed the examination of the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance and received this mission. That means that the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance recognizes his strength and believes that he has the ability to complete this mission, Uncle Lei said in a low voice. "Ability? No matter how powerful he is only a deity?" Qin Dong could not help but ask. "There's no other way. Now that the Heavenly Sword Marquis has arrived, we can't let him go back. Even if we go back, we won't have time to wait for the other experts of the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance to arrive. Therefore we can only gamble." Uncle Lei said. "Gamble?" Qin Dong was stunned. "We bet that Heavenly Sword Marquis is really confident in dealing with the 4 overlords as he said. At the same time, we bet that the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance will not violate their principles. Whoever is sent to complete this mission must have the ability to do so," Uncle Lei said. "So, we have to put our lives in the hands of the Divine Master?" Qin Dong's face was a little ugly. "There's no other way." Uncle Lei sighed and then looked at Jian Wuxuang. "May I ask how you want to take my young master away?" "Just follow me," Jian Wuxuang said indifferently, but his body had already floated away. Qin Dong and Uncle Lei looked at each other in dismay. They did not hesitate to follow him, and the rest of the team naturally followed. Under Jian Wuxuang's lead, the group left the island and headed directly to the edge of the Godless Sea area. On the way, the experts in the group looked a little unhappy. This guy wants us to leave the Godless Sea area so openly. Does he think that the 4 Overlord spies are just for show? That's right. Without any disguise, the experts under the 4 Overlords can recognize us as soon as they see us. Then they will attack us directly. How can he resist them then? It seems that this time we are doomed. These people were more or less dispirited. And just as they had expected, their group of people did not need any disguise to travel in the void of the Godless Sea area. They were easily discovered by one of the 4 Overlords, the people of Bloodblade Island. In the Grand Palace. Island Master, we found the location of young Master Qin Dong, a thin old man reported. Found him? The Island Master of the Bloodblade Island was a young man with blood-red hair and a blood-red robe. His eyes were bewitching with red light. When he heard the report from the thin old man, the red light in his eyes was abnormally cold. Where did you find them? The Island Master of the Bloodblade Island asked immediately. They're in the void above the Godless Sea area. I don't know what's going on. Qin Dong and his guards are flying there without any disguise. It seems like they want to leave the Godless Sea area directly, said the skinny old man. Without any disguise? The Island Master of the Bloodblade Island raised his eyebrows. Qin Dong should have known that the 4 Overlords of the Godless Sea area have their eyes on them. He has been trying to find their location for a whole year. Now they have shown up on their own accord? And they are so unscrupulous? Yes, Qin Dong's people were too unscrupulous. It was because they were unscrupulous that Bloodblade Island Master became more worried. Could it be that the Qin family's experts have arrived? No, the 2 camps over there are currently in a stalemate. Moreover, they are both monitoring and intimidating each other. If either side makes any movements, the other side will not miss this opportunity. If the people over there made any movements, I would definitely have received the news. But now it seems that they haven't. Moreover, if they really want to rush over from there, it will take a longer time. It is impossible for them to arrive so quickly. The Island Master of Bloodblade Island tapped on the armchair with his fingers. After a while, he looked up and asked, "Did our people see any special experts among Qin Dong's guards?" "Yes," the skinny old man said. "According to the information from our spies, there is indeed one more person besides Qin Dong. That person is wearing a gray robe and a gray mask." "Gray robe? Gray mask?" The Island Master's face suddenly changed. Heaven-Cleaving Alliance. It's the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance. The Heaven-Cleaving Alliance has interfered. This is troublesome. The Bloodblade Island Master frowned. The Bloodblade Island Master definitely knew about the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance, which was famous and powerful in the beginning Divine Realm. Moreover, he had always respected the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance and did not dare to offend them. The gray robe and the gray mask were obviously the attire of the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance's experts. "Sir, our spies also sent news that the person wearing the gray robe mask is a Divine Master," the thin and weak old man said. Chapter 2991. Kill Without Mercy. What did you say? The Bloodblade Island Master's voice suddenly became excited. He looked at the thin and weak old man in surprise. "Our people did say so," the thin and weak old man said immediately. "Divine Master? Are you sure he saw clearly that the extra Heaven-Cleaving Alliance expert is just a Divine Master?" The Bloodblade Island Master said in disbelief. "He's very sure, but it's also possible that that person intentionally concealed his aura, and our people can't see through it," the thin and weak elder said. "It's possible." The Island Master nodded. "But no matter what, since we've already found Qin Dong's location for the sake of that huge bounty, regardless of whether the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance person concealed his strength or not, we have to give it a try. Pass down the order." Everyone set off immediately. With the order of the Bloodblade Island Master, the experts of the Bloodblade Island immediately moved. In the void above the vast sea, Huocang and his group were still moving forward without any fear. But at this moment, whoosh, 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 dozens of figures rushed over at an extremely fast speed. In the blink of an eye, they had arrived in front of Huocang and the others. After the dozens of figures stopped, their powerful auras immediately pressed down on Huocang and the others. Looking at the group of experts, Huocang's eyes were still cold, but Qin Dong, Uncle Lei and the guards of their team looked extremely gloomy. Bloodblade Island is one of the 4 overlords. The leader of the people of Bloodblade Island is Bloodblade Island Master. My God, half of the 30 people are immortal saints. Even the Bloodblade Island Master came here personally. How can we resist such a lineup? Bloodblade Island Master is said to be a true saint at the peak of rank 1. The guards were all filled with fear. Uncle Lei and Qin Dong were also very nervous. Haha, the boy of the Qin family finally let me find you. The Bloodblade Island Lord had a cold smile on his face and his voice shook the sky. He glanced at the people in front of him and when he saw Qin Dong, his eyes immediately lit up. Of course he also saw Jian Wuxia. Is this the expert from the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance? The Bloodblade Island Lord also took a careful look at Jian Wuxia. He looked left and right and finally came to a conclusion. Divine Master, he is indeed just a Divine Master. The smile on the Bloodblade Island Master's face grew wider. Uncle Lei, what should we do? Qin Dong was so nervous that he was trembling. Don't be anxious. Let's look at the Heavenly Sword Marquis first. Since he is so confident, he must have some tricks up his sleeves. Maybe he can really stop the Bloodblade Island Master. As long as he can stop the Bloodblade Island Master for a moment, I can take you away, young master. Uncle Lei said in a deep voice. He was a peak false saint, and among the peak false saints he was an extremely powerful existence. As long as he did not meet a true saint, he was not afraid at all. Although there were more than a dozen immortal saints in front of him, the Bloodblade Island Master was the only true saint expert. If the Bloodblade Island Master was stopped by Jian Wuxia and could not free his hands, he was sure to take Qin Dong away. Under everyone's gaze, Jian Wuxia finally raised his eyes. I want to take this man away. Anyone who stands in my way will be killed without mercy. Jian Wuxia pointed at Qin Dong with one hand, and his cold voice came out of his mouth, wantonly spilling out in the vast sea. Hearing Jian Wuxia's words, not only the Bloodblade Island but also Qin Dong and the others were stunned. They had never expected Jian Wuxia to say such words as soon as he opened his mouth. He would kill anyone who stood in his way without mercy? Was he not too domineering? Do not forget, the people standing in front of him were all the top experts of Bloodblade Island. There were more than 10 false saints and a true saint at the peak of rank 1. How could he dare to say that he would kill anyone who stood in his way? Get lost! Jian Wuxia shouted angrily again, his voice rolling like thunder. You're courting death. The experts of Bloodblade Island were all furious. They were not frightened by a mere divine master. In an instant, many figures burst out. Seeing this scene, killing intent flashed in Jian Wuxia's eyes. If you don't get lost, you'll die. Boom. Jian Wuxia suddenly stepped on the void and shot out like a cannonball. As he shot out, a large amount of golden divine power began to roll out from his body. 7-star secret skill, divine punishment, and 9 luminary star armor had been used at the same time. He slowly raised the long sword in his hand, and sword essence burst out. Whoosh! He directly slashed out. This sword seemed calm, but in fact, the moment it was slashed out, it had already brought Jian Wuxia's sword essence and the power of the 33,000-meter-tall boundless sword tree to the maximum. Buzz, buzz, buzz. A large amount of spacetime rules condensed together with the sword essence, forming one spacetime blade after another. Countless spacetime blades fused with the sword essence. Spacetime rules and swordsmanship were perfectly combined. Boom. A huge storm rose out of thin air. This storm was like the wrath of heaven and earth. After it swept out, it immediately set off a world-destroying tsunami on the surface of the sea. It was the 9th move of the spacetime swordsmanship, Storm. This sword move. The experts of Bloodblade Island, who were full of killing intent and wanted to kill Jian Wuxia on the spot, changed their expressions when they saw the terrifying sword-edge storm. Even the master of Bloodblade Island was shocked. Such a terrifying sword attack made his heart palpitate. Buzz, buzz, buzz. The huge blade storm covered all the experts of Bloodblade Island, and then endless sword essence burst out at the same time. This power was extremely terrifying. Even if it covered all the experts of Bloodblade Island and faced more than 30 people at the same time, the power was not something an ordinary expert could withstand. Sizzle, 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 sizzle. A large number of sounds that sounded like the tip of a sword entering one's body rang out continuously, like the autumn wind sweeping away fallen leaves. In an instant, nearly half of the more than 30 experts of Bloodblade Island were killed on the spot. The weaker ones were killed on the spot. Although the remaining people survived this sword blade storm, most of them suffered a portion of the power and did not feel good. But at this moment, be careful. A mournful roar suddenly sounded. A ghostly voice appeared behind a false saint of Bloodblade Island at some point in time. Then a sword light lit up. The false saint did not have time to react. The sword light had already passed through his neck, and his entire head was thrown away. Whoosh! A strange figure flashed and appeared next to the second false saint. With the same sword attack, the second head was sent flying again. Chapter 2992, Sweep. Wah, 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 wah. The strange figure kept on flashing with lightning, and in the void, heads were cut off one by one like wheat being cut off. In less than a breath's time, 8 of the 10 or so immortal saints of Bloody Blade Island had been killed on the spot. This terrifying slaughter speed scared the remaining false saints of Blood Blade Island to death. Whoosh! Wuxuang's figure burst out again. Stop! Blood Blade Island Master let out a fierce roar. His eyes turned completely scarlet, and his body shot toward Wuxuang. Wuxuang stopped the slaughter and glanced at Blood Blade Island Master, then he held the sword with one hand. Buzz! A majestic sword shadow suddenly slashed out with the boundless sword tree, which was 3,300 meters tall. A scarlet saber appeared in the Blood Blade Island Master's hand. It was a blood saber. As he raised his hands, a vast blood chi rose. The Blood Blade Island Master seemed to be in a frenzy. At this moment, he had exerted the divine power in his hands to the maximum. Wah! The saber light slashed over and collided with the majestic sword shadow. Dang! A loud sound rang out. A terrifying shock wave swept out wantonly, raising the entire surface of the sea below. At the center of the collision, the Blood Blade Island Master's pupils suddenly shrank. In the next moment, a terrifying force crushed his saber light easily and continued to strike his divine body. So, the Blood Blade Island Master was like a meteor falling from the sky and crashed into the sea below. A moment later he rushed out of the sea again. However, after he rushed out of the sea, the madness and killing intent on his face had disappeared. What replaced it was shock. This guy is clearly just a divine master, but his strength is completely superior to mine? He's too strong. His strength is too strong and his speed is also far faster than mine. I don't even have a 10% chance of winning in a fight with him. Let's run. Without any hesitation, the Blood Blade Island Master immediately turned around and fled. Since he was like this, the remaining undying saints on the Blood Blade Island, who had long been scared out of their wits, naturally fled frantically. Wuxuang, on the other hand, watched them flee. He had no intention of pursuing them. He only slowly went forward to collect his spoils of war. It should be known that he had just killed a total of 8 immortal saints in an instant. This was also the largest number of immortal saints he had killed since he began cultivating. Even though the 8 immortal saints were only false saints and each of them had an average wealth of about 1 million sacred elixirs, it was still a considerable harvest. After all of this was done, Wuxuang turned to look at Qingdong, Uncle Lei and the others. It was a slow scene. In fact, from Wuxuang slaughtering the 8 immortal saints to forcing the Blood Blade Island Master to flee in panic, it was all done in a very short time. Qingdong, Uncle Lei and their guards were already stunned by the scene in front of them. To be exact, they were not stunned but completely stunned. More than 30 experts, more than 10 immortal saints, and even the Master of Blood Blade Island, a powerful true saint at the peak of Stage 1, were all sent out by Blood Blade Island. They had no confidence in dealing with such a huge lineup. Qingdong and Uncle Lei were even praying that Wuxuang would be able to hold off the Master of Blood Blade Island for a while. But what happened? In a split second, more than half of the experts of the Blood Blade Island had been killed, and only a few had escaped. The Blood Blade Island Master had been pushed back, and he had also fled in panic. And the one who had done all this was Heavenly Sword Marquis, who was only exuding the aura of a divine master. Qingdong pointed at Wuxuang, his eyes glazed over. He did not know what to say. Young master, watch your behavior. Don't anger this lord, Uncle Lei shouted. Qingdong was stunned, but he immediately realized what had happened and quickly withdrew his finger. However, he still could not calm down for a long time. After a long time, Uncle Lei managed to calm down. After exhaling, he walked toward Wuxuang. Thank you, Lord Heavenly Sword Marquis, for helping my young master defeat the Blood Blade Island, Uncle Lei said in awe. I'm just trying to complete my task. There's no need to thank me. Wuxuang waved his hand and said, All right, let's continue. After saying that, Wuxuang did not look back and directly rushed forward. Qingdong, Uncle Lei and the others immediately followed him. In contrast, Qingdong and the others were nervous and worried that they would not be able to leave the Godless Sea area alive. But now that they had witnessed Wuxuang's strength, their emotions disappeared instantly. Uncle Lei, we have come to the right person, Qingdong whispered. Yes, we have come to the right person. Heavenly Sword Marquis is indeed very powerful. Judging from the battle strength he just displayed, he has at least the battle strength of a peak rank 1 true saint. He is even very powerful among peak rank 1 true saints. At least, the Island Master of Blood Blade Island is no match for him. With his protection, We should be able to leave the Godless Sea area smoothly, Uncle Lei said with a smile. Heavenly Sword Marquis is very powerful, but I'm curious. Is he really just a divine master, or has he been hiding his aura all this time? Qin Dong frowned. Well, he should be hiding his aura. If he's really just a divine master, then his talent is too terrifying. Such a terrifying genius has already entered the legendary 3 palaces of Heaven-Cleaving Alliance. How could he appear here? Uncle Lei said he also thought that Jian Wuxia should have concealed his aura. Then why did he conceal his aura? I feel that concealing his aura is not of much use. Qin Dong asked in puzzlement. Who knows? Maybe Heavenly Sword Marquis is used to playing the pig to eat the tiger? Uncle Lei said. Qin Dong was startled, then he smiled. Forget it. Whether Heavenly Sword Marquis conceals his aura or not has nothing to do with us. As long as we can leave the Godless Sea area in peace, we will be fine. When we return to the clan and resolve the internal conflict, I will lead the experts of the clan to wipe out the Godless Sea area and turn the 4 overlords of the Godless Sea area into stray dogs. Uncle Lei could not help but smile. Because of Jian Wuxia's absolute strength, Qin Dong, Uncle Lei, and the guards were much more relaxed. But in fact, Jian Wuxia knew that his mission was not so simple. He would probably encounter a lot of trouble later. Chapter 2993, Peak Level 1, 4 of them. On the vast sea surface of the Godless Sea area, the island master of the Bloodblade Island and the remaining few immortal saints of Bloodblade Island stood there, their faces extremely unsightly. They're here. The island master of the Bloodblade Island suddenly raised his head. At the end of the void in front of him, more than 10 figures were rushing over. Haha, Bloodblade Island master, from the looks of it, you seem to be in a bit of a sorry state? Hearty laughter rang out. The person who had let out this laughter was a burly bald man. This bald man came before the island master of the Bloodblade Island. His violent aura was not the slightest bit inferior to that of the peak stage first true saint. Thanks, this is also the first time I've seen the island master of Bloodblade Island in such a state. Delicate laughter rang out. The person who spoke was a red-clothed young lady. This red-clothed young lady looked delicate and moving, but her eyes were extremely cold, just like the edge of a blade. I've received news that your Bloodblade Island has already found the location of that Qin Dong. Moreover, all of you have directly charged over. However, looking at the current situation, I'm afraid that all of you haven't succeeded. Moreover, you've even suffered a small loss. Another black-robed handsome youth said in a low voice. The burly bald man, the red-clothed girl, and the black-robed cold youth were all peak rank 1 true saints. They were shockingly the rulers of the other 3 overlords of the Godless Sea area. Alright, the 3 of you, let's cut the unnecessary nonsense. The reason I called you here is to discuss with you how to kill that Qin Dong, said the island master of Bloodblade Island. Bloodblade, as far as I know, that young master of the Qin family doesn't have many experts with him. He doesn't even have a true saint. With the strength of your Bloodblade Island, as long as you find their existence, it should be very easy to kill them, right? How did it become like this? The burly bald man asked. I also thought that it was a must. In the end, I didn't expect the Qin clan to use such a great method to invite an expert from the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance to help. The Bloodblade Island master said in a low voice. Heaven-Cleaving Alliance? The expressions of the burly bald man, the red-robed girl, and the black-robed cold-looking young man all changed. Is this expert from the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance very strong? The red-clothed girl immediately asked. But on the surface he doesn't look strong. He's only at the Divine Master level, but he must have hidden his aura. His combat strength is so strong that, to put it bluntly, he's much stronger than any one of the 4 of us, the island master of the Bloodblade Island said. Once this expert from the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance makes a move, he directly massacred many experts of our Bloodblade Island with great methods. Let alone divine masters, even the immortal saint of our Bloodblade Island has no chance to struggle in his hands. In just an instant, more than half of the people of our Bloodblade Island were slaughtered by him. Even the immortal saint was killed by 8 of them. When he made his move, he only casually swung his sword. That terrifying power still completely crushed me. I estimate that this person's strength should have already reached the limit of a rank 1 true saint, and he should be very close to a rank 2 true saint. So powerful? The bald man, the red-robed girl, and the cold-looking black-robed young man all turned solemn. Bloodblade Island Master, if you say it like this, any of us who meet that expert from the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance will be slaughtered? The red-robed girl said seriously. The 4 overlords of the Godless Sea area were about the same level of strength. That expert from the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance could easily slaughter everyone from Bloodblade Island. After killing so many experts from Bloodblade Island, naturally he could also slaughter the other 3 overlords. It's like this. That's why I've gathered them together now. The island master of the Bloodblade Island said seriously, although that person from the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance is powerful, he is only one person after all. In a one-on-one fight, none of us is his match. However, if 4 of us fight one person, he will only be crushed by us. 4 against 1? The burly bald man, the red-clothed girl, and the black-robed cold-looking youth looked at each other in dismay before nodding secretly. Indeed, according to what the island master had said, none of them would be enough for that expert from the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance to slaughter them. Thus, they could only join forces from all 4 sides and join forces completely. However, if the 4 peak Tier 1 True Saints attacked at the same time unless they encountered a Tier 2 True Saint, otherwise they would be able to suppress him. The 3 of you, this time, the other faction of the Qing clan has given us quite sufficient rewards. Even if we join forces from all 4 sides and split the rewards, we will still receive quite a lot of rewards. How about it? Whether we join forces or not, you can decide. The Bloodblade Island Master said. We can join forces. The burly bald man said. I have no objections. The red-clothed girl nodded. In that case, let's work together. The cold-looking young man in the black robe agreed. The 4 of them reached an agreement. Soon, the experts of the 4 overlords of the Godless Sea area set off immediately. Huocang and his group had been flying at high speed in the Godless Sea area. They did not hide their tracks at all. It was certainly not difficult for the experts of the 4 overlords to find them. Whoosh, 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 whoosh. A large group of experts rushed over from the front and arrived in front of Huocang and the others in the blink of an eye. Oh no! It's the people of the Bloodblade Island again. Except for the Bloodblade Island, the others? Luogod Island, Monster Snow Island, and Black Wind Island. Oh no, the 4 overlords of the Godless Sea area are all here. Qin Dong's guards were all stunned. How is this possible? How can this be? Uncle Lei's eyes were wide open, and his face was filled with disbelief. The 4 overlords of the Godless Sea area usually fight for benefits. They have deep grudges against each other, but why are the 4 overlords working together today? Benefits? It must be for benefits. Qin Dong's expression was also extremely unsightly. It looks like the people over there have invested a lot of capital and given extremely high rewards. This is why the 4 overlords can forget about their past grudges and work together to kill me. How ruthless. Looking at the many experts of the 4 islands in front of them, especially the 4 peak Tier 1 True Saints standing at the very front, Qin Dong's guards could not help but feel a sense of despair. Of course, they had not completely lost hope yet. After all, they still had a chance of survival. This chance of survival was the man in a gray robe and a gray mask standing in front of them. Lord Heavenly Sword Marquis. Uncle Lei also looked at Huocang. Now Huocang was their only hope. Only Huocang could let them live. Are all the experts of the 4 overlords gathered? Huocang's face under the mask was extremely cold, and his body emitted an unusually cold and black aura. His eyes showed no emotion as he glanced at the people in front of him. He had long guessed that this mission was not so simple, so he was not too surprised by the appearance of these experts. Chapter 2994. Destroy. When Huocang looked at the experts of the 4 overlords, the experts of the 4 overlords also stared at him. Is he the expert of the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance? The burly bald man narrowed his eyes. He doesn't look very impressive. The black-robed, cold-looking young man said. His aura is indeed at the Divine Master level. How strange, the red-robed girl said. The 3 of you don't underestimate him. His combat strength is far stronger than any of us, the island master of Bloodblade Island said seriously. Don't worry. We're not stupid, the red-robed girl said with a smile. Cut the crap. Let's attack directly, the burly bald man said in a low voice. Okay. The 4 of them communicated with each other and made up their minds. Kill? As the master of Bloodblade Island shouted, the experts of the 4 overlords, including the 4 peak rank 1 True Saints, all attacked at the same time. For a moment, a terrifying aura burst out one after another, pressing down on them from all directions. The moment they attacked, Huocang also moved. His eyes were cold and his body turned into a stream of light as he dashed out. His eyes were unusually cold as he stared at the people in front of him. There are many experts from the 4 overlords. There are more than 20 immortal saints and 4 true saints at the peak of rank 1. With so many experts, as long as these 4 peak of rank 1 true saints can hold me back, the others can directly kill me. Qin Dong's subordinates won't be able to resist for long. Once Qin Dong is killed, my mission will fail. I can't give them a chance to fight. I have to use all my strength to defeat them. Even if I can't kill them, I have to intimidate them so that they won't dare to continue fighting. Jian Wuxuang thought quickly and made up his mind. Boom. A vast golden divine power surged wildly. Jian Wuxuang had already used the 7-star secret skill, the divine punishment skill, and the 9 luminary star armor. His battle strength immediately rose to the peak. Then he waved his hand. Swish, 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 swish. Streams of cyan streamers formed by the star luo swords rushed out. These cyan streamers shuttled rapidly in the void and then floated in front of Jian Wuxuang. Condense. Jian Wuxuang uttered a word, and the 18-star luo swords immediately condensed together at the fastest speed. In an instant, rumble. An earth-shaking rumble sounded, and a huge spiral tunnel with the power of endless reincarnation rules appeared between heaven and earth. This spiral tunnel was like the reincarnation tunnel that led to reincarnation. It was mysterious, vast, and unfathomable. However, in this reincarnation tunnel, a brilliant green light was faintly discernible. Go! Jian Wuxuang's eyes turned cold, and the faintly discernible green light in the reincarnation passage suddenly burst out. The green light was extremely long and carried a huge green tail. It was dozens of meters long, but it was not large in size, but it was extremely fast. In the blink of an eye, it had already appeared in front of the burly bald man who was the fastest. This sword formation. The burly bald man's pupils constricted. He was a true saint at the peak of stage 1. He had extraordinary knowledge and sharp senses. The moment Jian Wuxuang's reincarnation sword formation burst out, he had already sensed that the power of this sword formation was extraordinary. The burly bald man did not dare to be careless. His body was instantly filled with an evil aura, and a huge axe appeared in his hand. As he held the huge axe with both hands, wah! The axe, which seemed to be able to split mountains and break mountains, suddenly descended. The axe shadow reached the sky and collided with the green light. Dang! A low sound of collision rang out. The moment the huge axe in his hand came into contact with the green light, it has already struck. What? The expression of the burly bald man suddenly changed, and his gaze became extremely shocked. He could feel the terrifying power contained within the green light. This power completely surpassed his, completely crushing him. But one had to know that he was a peak stage rank 1 true saint, and his forte was power, yet he was completely crushed? Rank 2. This is the power of a rank 2 true saint. The burly bald man let out a cry of surprise, but the green light continued to charge toward his body. Bang! The green light hit the burly bald man's body, and the burly bald man spat out a mouthful of blood. His entire body shot backward like a cannonball. With just one attack, the burly bald man's body was heavily injured. However, before he could stabilize himself, the cyan light shook slightly and then came at him for the second time. This time, the bald man did not even have the chance to wave his axe to defend himself. Bang! Under the terrifying power contained in the cyan light, the bald man's divine body finally collapsed. This scene stunned the Bloodblade Island master, the red-robed girl, and the black-robed cold-looking young man who was about to rush to Jian Wuxuang. Their expressions were also very interesting. In just 2 moves, the divine body of the Lord of the Luo God Island, who has the strongest attack power among the 4 of us, actually collapsed. The red-robed girl muttered. Whoosh! A large amount of divine power began to gather crazily. In just a moment, the body of the burly bald man has formed again. However, after his divine body was formed, he did not stop for even a moment. Instead, he fled backward at his fastest speed. As he fled, he hissed, "Bloodblade Island Master, you lied to me." The Blood Saber Island Master was also at a loss. He did not know how to answer. He knew why the burly bald man would say that. When the 4 of them met, he said that although Jian Wuxuang's battle strength was stronger than his, it was not too outrageous. With their combined battle strength, they could easily contend with Jian Wuxuang and even completely crush him. That was why the 4 of them joined hands to kill him. But now, when they actually saw Jian Wuxuang fight with him, in just 2 moves, the burly bald man's divine body was severely damaged. In the second move, the bald man's divine body directly collapsed. The 2 moves were completed in a flash. In such a short time, the bald man's divine body had collapsed once. What kind of strength was this? A first-rank true saint, even an expert who had reached the peak of the first rank, could not do this. Obviously, this expert from the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance had the combat power of a second-level true saint, and he was probably a strong existence among second-level true saints. Chapter 2995, Heaven-level members, run. After the burly bald man regenerated his divine body, he chose to run without any hesitation. He also saw that Jian Wuxia had the battle strength of a rank 2 true saint, and he was probably not weak among them. Such a powerful existence was not something he could fight against. Even if the 4 peak rank 1 true saints joined hands, they would not be able to fight against him. The difference between a true saint and a rank 1 true saint was ridiculous. Although it was difficult for Jian Wuxia to kill him because of his immortal body, there was still a high chance that the burly bald man did not want to take the risk. He was not the only one. After seeing Jian Wuxia's battle strength, the Blood Blade Island Master, the red-clothed girl, and the cold-looking black-robed young man also made a decision at once. Let's go. Let's go. The experts who were about to attack turned around and fled. Jian Wuxia was too lazy to chase after them. Even if he chased after them, he could only kill a few false saints. It was too difficult to kill a true saint. After all, the immortal body of a true saint was there. It was not easy to kill him. Soon, all the experts of the 4 overlords had fled. Jian Wuxia put away his long sword and looked at Qin Dong and the others behind him. It's okay, let's go. The group continued to set off. On the way, Qin Dong and the others were even more respectful of Jian Wuxia. A rank 2 true saint was definitely a top expert in the Endless Territories. Qin Dong's Qin clan had many experts, but the strongest one was also a peak rank 2 true saint. Even the Qin family had to treat a rank 2 true saint with respect. With such an expert escorting them, they were completely at ease. The journey was silent. The 4 overlords were completely intimidated by Jian Wuxia's strength and did not have the courage to come over again. Jian Wuxia and the others flew along. After a period of time, they finally successfully walked out of the Godless Sea area. My mission is to send you through the Godless Sea area. Now that we are out of the Godless Sea area, my mission is over. Goodbye, Jian Wuxia said directly. Thank you for the journey, sir, Uncle Lei said. Thank you, sir, Qin Dong and the surrounding guards said humbly. Jian Wuxia nodded slightly and then left. In one of the secret nests of the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance. Hand over the task. Jian Wuxia handed over a mirror token. The mirror token recorded the journey and used it to identify whether he had really completed the task alone. It only took some time. Soon, someone handed him an interspatial ring and a new identity token. Heavenly Sword Marquis, you have completed 3 Earth-level 3-star tasks alone. Congratulations. From today on, you are a Heaven-grade member of the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance and can enjoy many privileges as a Heaven-grade member. Thank you. Jian Wuxia took the interspatial ring and token with a smile on his face. After becoming a Heaven-level member, he immediately went to the treasure pavilion. Sir Qianxua, I want to exchange this Destruction Beast God statue for sacred elixirs. According to what I said before, this Destruction Beast God statue is worth 500 million sacred elixirs, right? Jian Wuxia asked. Yes. Sir Qianxua nodded. Well, this Destruction Beast God statue has 500 million sacred elixirs, and I have 280 million ready-made sacred elixirs in my interspatial ring, as well as many cultivation resources and treasures. It should be worth about 20 to 30 million sacred elixirs. It'll take 20 million sacred elixirs and add them all together. That's 800 million sacred elixirs. Jian Wuxia took out an interspatial ring and said. Lord Qianxua glanced at the interspatial ring and nodded slightly. It'll give you 800 million sacred elixirs. What do you want to exchange for? The gold-cracking secret manual? Yes, I want to exchange for the first volume of the gold-cracking secret manual, Jian Wuxia said directly. Sure. Lord Qianxua waved his hand and took away the Destruction Beast God statue and the interspatial ring, then he said, wait here for a while. Soon someone will send you the first volume of the gold-splitting secret manual, Lord Qianxua said. Thank you, sir. Jian Wuxia was delighted. After leaving the treasure pavilion, he waited in the secret nest with great expectations. A few days later, someone handed the first volume of the gold-splitting secret manual to him. Jian Wuxia sat cross-legged in a dark secret room, with a scroll made of jade slips floating in front of him. The scroll was not very long, but it contained a vast amount of information. The gold-splitting secret manual was left behind by an extremely powerful rule master in the divine beginning world, the gold-splitting master. This manual not only left behind the gold-splitting master's many insights into the space-time rule and sword principle, but also the void swordsmanship he created. Of course, most importantly, the gold-splitting master also carried out an extremely detailed dissection of the space-time rule and sword principle. Taking a deep breath, Jian Wuxuang began to examine them carefully. The first thing he saw was the dissection of the spacetime rule. The spacetime rule was profound and unfathomable. From the first stage of the spacetime illusion body to the second stage of the spacetime blade. It's too detailed. The dissection is too detailed. Jian Wuxuang's eyes were shining. He had only seen the bottom part, which was the dissection of the first stage of the spacetime rule, which was the spacetime illusion body. He was completely shocked. The spacetime illusion body, when it reached its limit at this stage, could burst out 1,000 spacetime illusions at the same time. 1,000 was already the limit. And in this gold-splitting secret manual, the gold-splitting master had perfectly dissected each of the 1,000 illusions, dissecting each of them into dozens or even hundreds of portions. It was just like how ordinary people ate. For example, it was impossible to eat a large pancake in one bite. However, if the pancake was split into several portions, it would be much easier. If the pancake was split into hundreds or even thousands of portions, it would become very, very small, then even those toothless old ladies would be able to eat it easily. It was the same for law comprehension. Take the illusory body of spacetime for example. It was not easy for a cultivator to condense a second illusory body under the premise of condensing one illusory body. However, if the illusory body was dissected into dozens of parts, dozens of steps, and then completed one step at a time, each step was very easy, from difficult to easy, condensing the second illusory body would naturally become much easier. Chapter 2996. Cultivation Time. The gold-splitting master is really good. He dissected an extremely complicated and profound rule in such a detailed and clear manner, Jian Wuxuang praised. It's much easier to comprehend such a detailed principle than we usually do. If I had obtained the gold-splitting secret manual earlier, it would have been much easier for me to comprehend the spacetime principle with the help of the heaven-sealing painting scroll. My comprehension of the spacetime principle would have been much higher than now. Jian Wuxuang looked at the information on the spacetime principle on the scroll. In each stage of the spacetime principle, not only the first stage of the spacetime illusion body but also the second stage of the spacetime blade and the third stage of the spacetime principle were dissected in great detail. However, the fourth stage. This scroll did not mention anything about the fourth stage of the spacetime principles. However, there was nothing he could do about it. After all, he had only obtained the first volume of the gold-splitting secret manual. After all, the gold-splitting secret manual had a total of 4 volumes. My comprehension of the spacetime principles is still at the second stage, which is the level of the spacetime blade. I'm still far from the limit of condensing 1,000 streaks of spacetime heat. With my own comprehension speed, it would take me a long time, even with the help of the 3 heaven-sealing scrolls. But now, with the gold-splitting secret manual, I can dissect the spacetime principles of the second stage in such detail. It will be much easier for me to comprehend it. Jian Wuxuang smiled. Then he looked at the other contents of the secret manual. For example, the sword principle. The secret manual also contained a complete dissection of the sword principle. From the first stage of the sword principle, the sword world, to the second stage, the limit of the infinite sword tree, there was a complete dissection. However, the third stage of the infinite sword tree was not mentioned. The infinite sword tree was already considered an extremely high level. Many powerful immortal saints only stayed at this level. As for those who could develop the infinite sword tree to its limit, they were all top-notch existences among the immortal saints. It was already good enough that the first volume of the gold-splitting secret manual could dissect the infinite sword tree completely. In addition to the spacetime rule and the dissecting of sword principle, the secret manual also contained the comprehension of the gold-splitting master, as well as some of his experience in combining the spacetime rule with his own swordsmanship. It was of great help to Jian Wuxuang. In addition, there was void swordsmanship. Void swordsmanship, the strongest swordsmanship created by the gold-splitting master. Jian Wuxuang's eyes sparkled as he carefully browsed through it. However, he was soon disappointed. It was true that void swordsmanship was included in the gold-splitting secret manual, but some of it was only the basic framework. The framework was not complete, and it was not even the embryonic form of swordsmanship. Although the framework was of some help to Jian Wuxuang's swordsmanship, it was very limited. The void swordsmanship created by the gold-splitting master has a total of 6 moves, but the main tearing and cutting moves seem to have a total of 3 moves. Jian Wuxuang raised his eyebrows. He had heard from Mo Shan that the void swordsmanship created by the gold-splitting master mainly focused on tearing and cutting. As for the other 3 moves, they were just to perfect his swordsmanship so that he would have no flaws. Each of the 6 moves was ridiculously strong. Unfortunately, he could only see a basic framework. Having a basic framework is equivalent to having a model. It will be of great help to me in creating a prototype of my own swordsmanship in the future. Also, the dissection of the spacetime principles and sword principle will be of great use to me. Not to mention the insights left behind by the gold-splitting master, as well as the cooperation and application of the spacetime principles and sword principle. In short, although I used 800 million sacred elixirs in the first volume of the gold-splitting secret manual, its true value to me is not even comparable to 8 billion sacred elixirs. Huocang clenched his hands, feeling rather excited. As Emo Shan had said, the gold-splitting secret manual was of great use to him. It was definitely the secret manual that he needed to learn the most at this stage. The gold-splitting secret manual could help him greatly in his comprehension of spacetime rules, sword principle, and how to create his own sword art prototype. Let's begin. Wuxia took a deep breath and his heart had completely calmed down. Soon he was immersed in cultivation and comprehension. Time slowly passed. Wuxia, who was immersed in cultivation and comprehension, had completely forgotten the passage of time in the outside world. He closed his eyes, completely immersed in the gold-splitting secret manual and his own comprehension. In a flash, 100 years had passed. 100 years was nothing in his previous life, but in this life, it was definitely the longest time Wuxia had secluded himself to cultivate. He was still immersed in cultivation. In the deepest part of the third heaven, in a chaotic void, several ancient and powerful existences gathered together. They were drinking fine wine, which emitted a refreshing fragrance. Whether it was the comprehension of the rules or the understanding of the Tao, it had a great effect, and it also contained great energy. To put it bluntly, if an ordinary divine master realm cultivator's understanding of the laws and the Tao could keep up, this wine would easily allow him to rise to the level of a peak great divine master with just a single drop. However, this wine, which was supposed to be priceless, seemed to be completely worthless in front of these ancient existences. They drank cup after cup. While drinking, these ancient existences were also chatting. The three of you, what do you think of that little fellow called Song? A tall man with a horn on his forehead and many silver scales on his face said. Not bad. It's only been 200 years since entering the Chaos Palace, and he has already passed through the 7th level of the Tower of Fortune. His future is boundless. The three-eyed man who was over 3 meters tall and had bronze skin all over his body nodded and praised. His talent is indeed not bad. In this era, the most outstanding genius in the Primal Chaos Palace should be him. Even in the entire Divine Beginning realm, his talent in this era should be ranked in the top 3. If he can continue to comprehend like this, he should be able to completely comprehend and control a set of laws within 3,000 years at most. He should be able to stand on equal footing with us. The jade-haired woman also nodded slightly. Haha, I personally brought this little fellow here. It's a pity that he's too arrogant and isn't willing to acknowledge me as his master. Otherwise, the one-horned tall man sighed, let's not talk about him for now. Didn't the three of you say that you've discovered an incredible genius who has a chance of joining the Chaos Palace? Why is there no news? Hearing this, the three-eyed man and the green-haired woman could not help but look at the white-haired old man, who was also Emo Shan. Chapter 2997, Heaven Rank 2-Star Mission. That little guy. I went to see him before and even invited him personally. But for some unknown reason he rejected me, Emo Shan said. Rejected. The one-horned tall man could not help but be startled. Entering the Primal Chaos Palace is the dream of countless top geniuses in the Divine Beginning realm. Many people paid an unimaginable price, but they still couldn't reach the threshold to enter the Primal Chaos Palace. This little guy actually rejected such a great opportunity? Who says so? Perhaps he really has some special reasons, Emo Shan said with a bitter smile. Emo Shan, are you still paying attention to that little guy? The green-haired woman looked over. Yes. Emo Shan nodded. Not long ago, I found out that he completed 3 Earth-rank 3-star missions by himself and has already become a Heaven-grade member of the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance. However, recently he has disappeared without a trace and hasn't accepted any new missions. It seems that he has gone into seclusion to cultivate. Humph, the junior is too arrogant. He actually rejected a once-in-lifetime opportunity and is unwilling to join our Primal Chaos Palace. He does not have the resources and conditions to nurture him. If he cultivates by himself, his talent is the highest and his achievements are definitely limited. The one-horned tall man said. What a pity for such a genius. The three-eyed man and the green-haired woman sighed. Emo Shan shrugged but did not say anything. Time passed quickly. In a flash, Wuxia had been in closed-door cultivation for 120 years. Finally, Jian Wuxuang walked out of the secret room. 120 years, Jian Wuxuang muttered to himself. The gold-splitting secret manual has been of great help to me. In the past 120 years, I have been comprehending the space-time rules, sword principles, and swordsmanship with the help of the gold-splitting secret manual. So far I have made great progress. In terms of the laws of space-time, I should have reached the limit of the second stage. The number of blades of space-time I have condensed is close to 1,000. If I take another step forward, I will reach the third stage. In terms of the way of the sword, I have also improved by a large level. The infinite sword tree in my body was only 3,300 meters tall before, but now it is 6,600 meters tall. It has doubled in height. When I urged the infinite sword tree to execute its sword arts, its power has also increased tremendously. As for swordsmanship, after 120 years of constant study and comprehension based on the void swordsmanship in the gold-splitting secret manual, I finally created the two sword styles, Night Vision and Star Dream. Among them, Star Dream has completely reached the standard of the embryonic form of swordsmanship. Now, I seem to have reached the limit of my realm in all aspects. If I want to go further, I'm afraid I have to break through to the saint level first. Jian Wuxuang's eyes were shining. He had not broken through to the immortal saint level yet. But he was very confident in himself because he had reached the true limit in all aspects. He was only one opportunity away from breaking through. As long as the opportunity came, he could break through at any time. This opportunity is not something I can find by staying in the secret room and continuing to cultivate in seclusion. I have to go on adventures. It's best if the outside world can give me some stimulation, such as giving me a sense of crisis and pressure, Jian Wuxuang muttered. Now he was ready for everything except the last step. And the last step would give him a higher chance of success under great pressure. Go and do the task. Jian Wuxuang let out a sigh and quickly set off. In the hall of the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance, Jian Wuxuang held a task list and carefully looked through it. The task list he was looking at was naturally a heaven-level task list. There were all kinds of heaven-level tasks on the list, with varying degrees of difficulty. Jian Wuxuang first looked at the one-star heaven-level tasks. The one-star heaven-level tasks were suitable for experts who had just become heaven-level members. Under normal circumstances, such tasks could be completed as long as they had the battle strength of a second-ranked true saint. If it were 120 years ago, before Jian Wuxuang went into closed-door cultivation, these one-star heaven-level tasks would have put a little pressure on Jian Wuxuang. But now there were very few one-star heaven-level tasks that he cared about. Soon Jian Wuxuang turned his attention to the two-star heaven-level tasks. The two-star heaven-level tasks were much more difficult than the one-star tasks. To complete the two-star heaven-level tasks alone, most of them required the battle strength of a peak stage 2-star or even a stage 3 true saint. This kind of task was also somewhat challenging for Jian Wuxuang. This time I chose this task specifically to break through to the immortal saint realm. The task is not too difficult, but it cannot be too low. Although the ordinary two-star heaven-level tasks are somewhat challenging for me, if I'm lucky, I'm still very confident that I can complete them. Therefore, if I want to choose, I will choose the more difficult two-star heaven-level tasks. For example, this one. Jian Wuxuang looked at a two-star heaven-level task on the list. It was also a two-star heaven-level task, but the reward of the task Jian Wuxuang was looking at was extremely high, 150 million sacred elixirs. The location of the task was an extremely prosperous place in the Endless Territories, where there were many experts. Most importantly, the mission did not have a time limit. In other words, even if you accepted the mission now, you could wait for decades or even hundreds of years to complete it. Naturally, it was not a big deal for you to delay for a while during the mission. This mission looks very difficult and risky, but it gives me a lot of leeway and opportunities to deal with it without counting time. Jian Wuxuang smiled and said, "This is it." Jian Wuxuang made up his mind and quickly went to accept the task. After accepting the task, he made some preparations and immediately set off. Magic Note Divine Kingdom. The Magic Note Divine Kingdom was formed by a combination of 38 different realms. The territory where the Magic Note Divine Fruit was located was a relatively prosperous place in the Endless Territories. There were many more experts than ordinary territories. And the Magic Note Divine Kingdom was able to combine 36 realms here to form the Magic Note Divine Fruit. One could imagine its strength. The Magic Note Divine Kingdom was passed down by the Magic Note King. It was said that this Magic Note King had reached the level of a 4th-level true saint many years ago. As for now, it was even more unfathomable. In the Endless Territories, a 4th-level true saint was definitely the most apex existence. After all, Anyone who was a rank 5 true saint was qualified to be called a peak immortal saint. There were many rank 5 true saints in the vast third sky, but they were extremely rare in the endless territories. Naturally, with the rank 4 true saint strength of the Magic Note King, he could dominate an area. Chapter 2998. Magic Note Divine Kingdom. In the dark void of the Magic Note Divine Kingdom's territory, Huocang, who was wearing a gray robe and a gray mask, was flying rapidly. He was holding a list in his hand and looking at it carefully. This list was a list of experts. According to the information of this mission, the Magic Note Divine Kingdom had been established for many years. The 36 territories under its control were completely controlled by the Magic Note Divine Fruit. It could be said that the Magic Note Divine Kingdom was capital in this territory. In such a huge divine kingdom there were many experts. These experts ruled everything. Over time there would naturally be some scum. According to the precise information obtained by the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance, there were more than 100 experts in the Magic Note Divine Kingdom who were guilty of crimes. Among them, there were 12 who were deemed to be extremely evil by the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance and were extremely powerful. These 12 experts were on the kill list in Wuxiang's hands. Wuxiang's mission this time was to kill all 12 experts on this kill list. Among these 12 experts, even the weakest one is a rank 1 true saint. The slightly stronger one is a peak rank 1 true saint. In addition, 3 of them are rank 2 true saints. Looking at the introduction of these experts on the kill list, Wuxiang could not help but sigh. There were 12 experts and they were all true saint experts. A true saint had an immortal body, so it was very difficult to kill one of them. It was indeed a very challenging task for Wuxiang to kill all 12 of them. Moreover, among the 12 true saints, 3 of them were rank 2 true saints. If it were 120 years ago, he would have been able to fight against a rank 2 true saint. But now, although his strength had greatly increased and he was confident that he could defeat most rank 2 true saints, nothing was absolute. Moreover, defeating and killing an opponent were two completely different concepts. Logically speaking, this task should have been completed by a rank 3 true saint. With my current strength, it should not be difficult to defeat these true saints, but it is not easy to kill them one by one. Fortunately, I went to Sir Qianxua to exchange for 50 drops of God-burning poison. I don't know if it is enough. In addition, even if I'm lucky enough to kill all 12 experts on this kill list, I'm afraid it won't be easy to leave the Magic Note Divine Kingdom safely. Wuxiang thought. He could imagine. The 12 experts on this list were all experts under the command of the Magic Note Divine Kingdom. Some of them had made outstanding contributions to the Magic Note Divine Kingdom, and some of them were even top officials of the border. If he only killed 1 or 2 of them, the top officials of the Magic Note Divine Kingdom would not care too much. Killing 12 such experts at once would make the Magic Note Divine Kingdom furious, and they would certainly try to kill him. In other words, there would be many unexpected changes in his mission. The risk was very high. However, it was because of the risk that Wuxiang specially accepted this mission. 3 days later. In one of the realms under the Magic Note Divine Kingdom, Wuxiang came to a stretch of mountains, and there was a huge and beautiful manor below. Is the first target I want to kill living in this manor? Wuxiang stood in the void above, coldly, but his soul power had already covered the manor below. In a golden palace in the center of the manor. Dong, mao, dang. The sound of various musical instruments echoed in the huge palace. In the center of the palace, more than a dozen beauties were dancing. They were dancing beautifully, and their faces were also extremely beautiful. On the lofty golden throne at the top of the palace, a barefoot middle-aged man wearing a loose golden robe was looking down with an evil smile. Suddenly, he slowly extended his right hand, and a sharp light shot out from his fingertip. Suddenly, this sharp light shot through the palace like lightning, directly scraping off the clothes and flesh of one of the beauties. Ah! The beauty cried out in alarm. Don't shout, keep dancing. The golden-robed middle-aged man said with a strange smile. The beauty did not dare to get angry. She endured the pain and humiliation on her waist, and continued to dance for the golden-robed middle-aged man. The golden-robed middle-aged man stretched out his hand once again. Shio, 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 shio. Rays of sharp light shot out continuously and swept past the bodies of the beauty maidens. The clothes of these beauty maidens had all been taken off, and some of their flesh and blood had also been sliced off by the sharp light. In the worst-case scenario, one of the beauty maidens' entire arm had been sliced off. However, no matter how wantonly the golden-robed middle-aged man humiliated her, these beauty maidens did not dare to say a single word. They could only endure the humiliation. They knew very well what kind of demon the golden-robed man was. If they resisted him, their fate would be worse than death. Keep dancing. Keep dancing. The golden-robed middle-aged man spoke again with a smile on his face. Jian Wuxia, who was in the void above the manor, saw this scene and could not help shaking his head. Those beauties are all divine masters and above. 2 of them have reached the great divine master realm. If they were in an ordinary realm, they would definitely be considered top experts. But in the hands of the golden-robed middle-aged man, they are like playthings. Also, the golden-robed middle-aged man's tricks are really strange. No wonder the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance put him on the kill list. Jian Wuxia sighed secretly. There's no need to tangle with such a heinous person. Just kill him with lightning-fast methods. Jian Wuxia's eyes flashed with a fierce light, but his figure, which was standing in the high sky, suddenly swooped down. Boom! Like a meteor falling from the sky, Jian Wuxia directly entered the manor. The restriction that had been covering the surroundings of the manor was nothing to Jian Wuxia. Jian Wuxia barged in so openly, so he naturally attracted the attention of many people at the first moment. Many figures immediately rushed out of the manor, but they could not stop Jian Wuxia at all. Jian Wuxia arrived at the Golden Palace without any obstruction. At the top of the Golden Palace, the golden-robed middle-aged man's eyes were like lightning. He immediately looked at Jian Wuxia and asked, "Who are you?" "I'm the one who killed you." Jian Wuxia's voice was cold. As soon as he finished his words, his body suddenly swayed. This sway seemed to be an easy one, but Jian Wuxia had already completely unleashed his comprehension of the space-time principles. The second stage of the most extreme comprehension made him burst out at an incredible speed, at least beyond the scope of a first-level true saint. This speed. The golden-robed middle-aged man's face changed greatly. He had already seen Jian Wuxia's figure appear in front of him, and at the same time, a beautiful and equally fast sword light had already cut across him. Chapter 2999, God-Burning Venom, how could it be so fast? The middle-aged man in the golden robe was shocked, but he was a rank 1 true saint expert after all, so he reacted at once. A golden light suddenly lit up. It was a long golden shuttle, cold and dazzling. It stabbed out in an instant. Jian Wuxia also brandished his sword. At the same time, he also used the 7-star secret skill, Punishment Divine Realm Expert, and 9 luminary star armor. The sword light was cold. It hit the golden shuttle like lightning. The terrifying power slightly changed the direction of the Golden Palace. Then, the cold sword light continued to slash at the divine body of the golden-robed middle-aged man. How could it be? The golden-robed middle-aged man turned pale with fright. He had determined that Jian Wuxia had at least the battle strength of a rank 2 true saint. Otherwise, he would not have been able to defeat him so easily. Humph, I have a protective armor at the level of a holy treasure, and my protective skills are not weak. Your sword attack can at most severely injure my divine body. It's impossible for you to destroy my divine body directly, the golden-robed middle-aged man said coldly. Swoosh. The saber light finally slashed on the golden-robed middle-aged man's divine body. The golden-robed middle-aged man was about to smile, but his expression suddenly froze. Because he had already seen that when the cold sword light touched the protective armor on his body, the protective armor at the level of a sacred treasure was torn apart at the first moment, and that sword light actually entered his god body through that crack. Rumble. The golden-robed middle-aged man did not have any room to struggle. His divine body immediately collapsed. However, as a true saint, as long as he had enough divine power, his divine body could continue to regenerate. The golden-robed middle-aged man's divine body also started to regenerate. This person is so strong. While the golden-robed middle-aged man had a full divine body, he was also shocked. His speed is too fast, and his comprehension of the principles of space and time far exceeds my imagination. His combat power is also extremely strong, and he has definitely reached the level of a second-level true saint. Most importantly, the divine weapon in his hand is also very strange. That tearing and cutting ability is too strong, and even my protective armor can't withstand it. Just one sword strike has caused my divine body to collapse. This means that he only needs 4 sword strikes at most to kill me. I can't tangle with him. I have to flee immediately. The golden-robed middle-aged man had already made up his mind. As long as his divine body was completely reconstructed, he would immediately flee for his life. But suddenly, what? The golden-robed middle-aged man suddenly let out a terrified voice. He could clearly sense that while his divine body was being reconstructed, his divine power was being eroded by a terrifying force. That's right, it was corroding. That force was extremely terrifying. It was unscrupulously corroding his divine power. In just an instant, 50% of his divine power had been corroded, a full 50%. And that eroding force was still continuing. Poison. It's poison. Such a terrifying eroding force, this should be the god-burning poison. No, no. The golden-robed middle-aged man roared crazily in the palace. He could feel his divine power dissipating at an unprecedented speed. His divine body, which had almost been reassembled, suddenly collapsed and turned into divine power again. The divine power was quickly eroded away. Bus. The entire palace finally calmed down. Huocang stood in the middle of the palace and looked at the terrifying erosive power in front of him. His eyes focused. It seems that I overestimated the divine power of a rank 1 true saint, so I wasted a drop of the god-burning poison, Huocang thought. The god-burning poison. Huocang went to Treasure Pavilion to exchange for it after he received the mission. He knew that the mission was to kill 12 true saint experts. In the divine beginning world, it was very difficult to kill a true saint with an immortal body. After all, as long as the immortal body had enough divine power, it could be regenerated continuously, even for an ordinary immortal saint, could reassemble his divine body 4 or 5 times. This also meant that he had to kill 4 or 5 times before he could truly kill a true saint. This was too troublesome for many cultivators. Thus, the experts of the absolute beginning divine realm had come up with many methods and things to kill those true saints more conveniently. The simplest and most direct method was to kill the soul. To directly use the soul attack to kill the soul, once and for all, the divine body could not be reassembled many times. However, the experts who were good at soul attacks were only a minority in the divine beginning world. There were not many of them, and this kind of method was rarely seen. And besides soul attacks, the cultivators of the divine beginning world also thought of a method that could save a lot of energy to directly kill true saints. That was to use poison. The divine beginning realm had countless kinds of poisonous liquids. Most of these poisonous liquids had a terrifying erosive effect on divine power. As long as the poisonous liquids entered the opponent's body, they could corrode the opponent's divine power in the shortest time possible. Naturally, the opponent would not be able to reassemble his divine body. This method was also accepted and favored by many cultivators. There were many kinds of poisons in the divine beginning world that could greatly erode divine power, and many of them were famous. For example, the god-burning poison that Huocang took out was one of the most terrifying poisons. The god-burning poison had to be exchanged for 300,000 sacred elixirs per drop, even for a heaven-grade member. Under normal circumstances, 1 drop of god-burning poison was enough to erode half of a first-rank true saint's divine power. Before Huocang came to complete this mission, he had exchanged 15 million sacred elixirs for 50 drops of god-burning poison so that he could kill the 12 true saints on the list. Just now, when he attacked the golden-robed middle-aged man, he had smeared 3 drops of god-burning poison on his blood mountain sword. After the sword blade cut through the golden-robed middle-aged man's protective armor, the god-burning poison entered the golden-robed middle-aged man's body along the tip of the sword. The effects of the 3 drops of god-burning poison were fully activated. The golden-robed middle-aged man did not have time to regenerate his divine body. His divine power had been completely eroded by the god-burning poison. Naturally, he died without any room for struggle. Moreover, Huocang had obviously used 1 more drop. Now it seems that I only need 2 drops of god-burning poison for an ordinary rank 1 true saint. I might need 3 drops at the peak of rank 1. As for a rank 2 true saint, I think I can only use 5 or 6 drops at most. 50 drops of god-burning poison is enough for me to kill all 12 true saints. Huocang thought to himself. Chapter 3000, Holy Master Huocang Poison, it's the god-burning poison, no. Damn it, it's 300,000 drops of god-burning poison, I'm doomed. Spare my life, spare my life. The slaughter continued. There were 12 true saint experts on the must-kill list. These 12 true saint experts were scattered in different corners of the magic note divine kingdom and did not gather together. Therefore it was easier for Huocang to kill them. He just needed to spend some time to find them one by one. Originally, with Huocang's strength, although he could crush those first-rank true saints, it would be very difficult to kill them directly. However, because of the existence of the god-burning poison, it was much easier for him to kill those first-rank true saints. The god-burning poison was known as the nightmare of cultivators below the 4th-rank true saint. It was not undeserved. With the help of the god-burning poison, Huocang had traveled to every corner of the magic note divine kingdom in less than 2 months and killed 6 true saints on the list. Of course, the 6 true saints killed were only rank 1 true saints, the strongest of which was at the peak of rank 1. Boom. Flames kept spewing out of the sky. They were in the middle of a huge group of volcanoes. This group of volcanoes was covered in scarlet earth. There were no living beings or living things around. Whoosh. A figure appeared in the void above the group of volcanoes. Huocang, who was wearing a gray robe and a gray mask, was looking down with cold eyes. This should be the Earth Flame Mountain Range. There are 12 true saint experts on the kill list. Among them, Holy Master Huocang, who is extremely strong and has reached the 2nd rank true saint realm, should be hiding here, Huocang muttered. In the mission information provided by the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance, not only were the 12 true saint experts detailed, but their current location was also included. Holy Master Huocang had been staying in this group of volcanoes all year round. It was said that he had not left for more than tens of thousands of years. Haha, he has been in seclusion for tens of thousands of years. He has worked hard and is very patient. However, tens of thousands of years ago, in order to refine his natal magic weapon, Holy Master Huocang burned 1/10 of the cultivators in a realm into ashes. It's a heinous crime and unforgivable. Huocang's eyes were cold. A realm like the Pill Sun sacred world which he was born in was already very vast. How many cultivators did it have? 1/10 of the cultivators in a realm was also an astronomical figure. To burn so many cultivators in one go just to refine a natal weapon for himself, was so cruel and terrifying. Holy Master Huocang, get out here. Huocang let out a fierce shout that reverberated throughout the entire Earth Flame Mountain Range and did not disappear for a long time. At the bottom of the Earth Flame Mountain Range, a burly figure sitting cross-legged in the endless flames suddenly opened his eyes and rushed up. Boom. Like a volcano erupting, the entire world suddenly shook. The burly figure had already rushed out of the ground, arrived in the void, and arrived in front of Huocang. Is he Holy Master Huocang? Huocang stared at the person in front of him with an extremely cold expression. Holy Master Huocang was as burly as a small mountain. He wore scarlet armor and a scarlet helmet on his head. His body was surrounded by raging flames. He looked like a giant fire beast. You dare to disturb my cultivation. You will die. If you have any last words, just say them. Holy Master Huocang's voice was cold and emotionless. Last words? My last words are, you can die first. Huocang moved directly. He used the 7-star secret skill, Punishment Divine Realm Expert, and 9 Luminary Star Armor at the same time. His battle strength reached its peak in an instant. Whoosh. His body flashed and his terrifying speed burst out. In an instant he appeared in front of Holy Master Huocang. At the same time, he held the Blood Mountain sword in his right hand and slashed out with his sword. Holy Master Huocang's pupils constricted. A red long stick appeared in his hand. He held the long stick in one hand and sent it forward in a spiral. It created a huge fire whirlpool and directly rushed toward Huocang's sword light. The sword light immediately struck the long red staff. Bang! A low sound of collision rang out as Huocang took a few steps back. Your speed is not bad, but your strength is a little weak. Holy Master Huocang glanced at Huocang and endless flames suddenly burst out from his body. At the same time he held the long red staff in his hands. Starfire penetrates the 9 heavens. Boom. The entire sky was suddenly dyed red. The sky was filled with flames, which came from the void and covered the entire world. The scarlet long staff in Holy Master Huocang's hands also contained astonishing divine power. As the divine power soared, the scarlet long staff suddenly grew in size. Boom. Boom. A huge scarlet long staff with astonishing power hurled toward Huocang. This guy. Huocang narrowed his eyes slightly. The moment he saw Holy Master Huocang attack, Huocang could tell that Holy Master Huocang was much stronger than the intelligence report said. According to the intelligence report of the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance, Holy Master Huocang was only an ordinary rank 2 true saint. Although his battle strength was not at the bottom among rank 2 true saints, he was definitely not strong. However, in this fight, the strength displayed by Holy Master Huocang was definitely not something an ordinary rank 2 true saint could have. Although he was not at the peak of rank 2, he was very close. Go! Huocang raised his right hand, and the 18-star Luo swords formed a sword formation at the fastest speed. A streak of green light shot out, dragging out. The streak of green light also contained astonishing power, and in the blink of an eye, it collided with the scarlet staff shadow that was crushing down from above. With a deafening sound, the streak of green light trembled slightly and shot out directly, but the power of the scarlet staff shadow above was barely blocked. Wow, in terms of offensive power, the staff skill Holy Master Huocang used is even stronger than my 5th reincarnation sword formation, Saint Beheading. Jianghu sighed secretly, but he was not worried at all. It was true that Holy Lord Huocang was very strong. 120 years ago, he would have been helpless against Holy Master Huocang if he had not obtained the gold-splitting secret manual. Even if he had tried his best, he would have only been able to fight against Holy Master Huocang head-on. It was impossible to kill him. But it was different now. After 120 years of closed-door meditation, my strength is no longer the same as before. I'll use you to test my progress over the past 120 years. Jianghu curled the corners of his mouth, but in the next moment he rushed out again. Chapter 3001, Night Vision, Star Dream. Swish. A silver light suddenly flashed in the scorching void. Holy Master Huocang's pupils constricted. The next moment he saw the void in front of him. Swish. Swish, swish, swish. A strange silver light burst out in an instant. The dense silver light flickered crazily. Even a second-rank true saint like him could not completely capture Jianghu figure. Movement technique, what a terrifying movement technique. Holy Master Huocang's face sank. Movement technique. Yes, it was a movement technique. After 120 years of meditation, Jianghu comprehension of the space-time rule had improved a lot with the help of the dissection of the gold-splitting secret manual. On the way to meditation, Jianghu also gained a great harvest. He created a movement technique himself. This movement skill was called Silver Light. Like a silver ghost, Jianghu figure shuttled through the void. Silently, he appeared beside Holy Master Huocang and slashed out with his Blood Mountain sword. A sword light suddenly lit up. This sword light was also silent, but the moment it lit up, roar. Vaguely, a fierce beast's roar echoed in the world. It was a sword light, but in the blink of an eye, it turned into a huge and ferocious beast's head. Jianghu self-created sword skill. Huocang. This sword move was powerful. In terms of level, it had already reached the level of a rank 2 absolute art, and it was relatively strong among rank 2 absolute arts. Holy Master Huocang seemed to have sensed that the power of this sword was not to be underestimated. At the first moment he mustered all of his divine power. The scarlet long rod in his hand instantly turned into a huge volcano. This volcano contained terrifying power. The moment it came into direct contact with the sword light, it suddenly erupted. Bang! A shockingly loud sound rang out, and boundless divine power swept out in all directions. A hint of shock suddenly flashed in Holy Master Huocang's eyes. He staggered and fell down. It was obvious that he had been struck by the sword light. The power of the sword skill has increased so much? Holy Master Huocang was a little surprised. When Jianghu fought with him just now, his sword skills were ordinary and not very powerful. Obviously they were not as powerful as his. Even if he used the sword formation it was still the same. But now Jianghu was using his swordsmanship again. Did his swordsmanship actually suppress his power? It's a second-level absolute art, and it's a second-level absolute art that focuses on strength. Holy Master Huocang's pupils constricted slightly. He finally felt the enormous pressure from Jianghu body. And this pressure suddenly soared as Jianghu body swayed again. In the void, the silver light kept flashing and changing at an incredible speed. Too fast, too strange. His speed is already very fast, much faster than mine. With this movement skill, I can't catch his figure at all. With this speed and movement skill he can completely crush me. I'm a living target in front of him. Many thoughts rose in Holy Master Huocang's mind at once. Buzz. Jianghu figure appeared on the ground. As soon as he appeared, sword light swept over. It was the move of Huocang again. Holy Master Huocang gritted his teeth and could only passively resist. Swish, 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 swish. Jianghu speed and movement technique were fully unleashed. With his own sword technique, he surrounded Holy Master Huocang and attacked again and again. Every time he attacked he used the move Huocang. Clang, 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 clang. A series of low collision sounds could be heard. Holy Master Huocang had no ability to fight back at all. He could only passively defend himself. Although he was a little embarrassed, his divine body did not suffer any damage. It's useless. I admit that your speed is far faster than mine and your swordsmanship is more powerful than mine. With your movement techniques, you can completely crush me or even play with me. I don't have the ability to fight back, but you can't kill me at all. It's just a waste of time to keep fighting, Holy Master Huocang shouted in a low voice. He no longer had the will to fight, so he hoped that Jianghu would stop as well. A waste of time? I don't think it's a waste of time. Jian Wuxuang raised his eyebrows. However, a strange smile appeared on his face. It's true that Xiang alone can't kill you. In that case you can try my star dream again. Star dream. Holy Master Huocang was stunned. But Jian Wuxuang had already attacked like lightning. The silver light flashed again, and Jian Wuxuang still appeared silently beside Holy Master Huocang. Holy Master Huocang had already noticed the moment he appeared. It's useless. Holy Master Huocang's voice was cold, and his body was surrounded by raging flames. He wanted to swing his long rod to block Jian Wuxuang's next attack. But suddenly he saw Jian Wuxuang's sword. It was a cold and beautiful sword shadow that felt like a dream. The sword light was calm and indifferent. It swung out from Jian Wuxuang's hand and went straight for his neck. But when he saw the sword, Holy Master Huocang's eyes were wide open. It was too fast. The sword was too fast. It was unbelievably fast. It was far faster than he had imagined. He had reacted at the first moment and even attacked before Jian Wuxuang did, waving the scarlet long staff in his hand. However, he found that he was still far from being able to keep up with the speed of the sword move. The beautiful and dreamy ice-cold sword shadow, he could not withstand it at all. Clang. The ice-cold sword shadow directly cut into Holy Master Huocang's protective armor. His protective armor was also of a very high level, so it immediately blocked a large amount of power for him. However, at this moment, the sword shadow's blade suddenly slashed. This slash, his protective armor was actually torn open on the spot. The ice-cold blade followed the opening and directly entered his divine body. How is this possible? Holy Master Huocang was shocked. He could not believe it. What he did not know was that the most terrifying thing about Jian Wuxuang's Blood Mountain sword was its sharpness. It was already a second-grade holy treasure. Once it was cut, even a second-grade holy treasure armor of the same level would not be able to withstand it. Moreover, the Star Dream move that Jian Wuxuang was using was also a move that could cut through. His protective armor was useless in front of the Blood Mountain sword and Star Dream sword techniques. The cold sword shadow directly passed through Holy Master Huocang's divine body. His divine body immediately collapsed, and the god-burning poison on the sword tip immediately attacked Holy Master Huocang's divine power. No. Holy Master Huocang let out a shrill cry, but his divine body did not regenerate. Chapter 3002, The King was furious. He's dead. I killed a rank 2 true saint after consuming 5 drops of the god-burning poison. Jian Wuxuang stood in the void and looked calmly at the place where Holy Master Huocang had disappeared. He was quite excited. 120 years ago, when he met a rank 2 true saint, he could barely fight him even if he used all his skills. But now he had met a rank 2 true saint. He did not even use many of his trump cards. For example, he did not guide the sword intent in the Blood Mountain sword, nor did he use the Mountain River map. He just relied on his secret technique and the sword technique he created. He easily killed Holy Master Huocang. Of course, the most important thing was the sword technique he created. I've studied it for 120 years and I've created 2 sword skills. One of them, Evening Elephant, is based on strength and power, but its level is only at the 2nd level. However, Star Dream is my biggest achievement in the past 120 years. It's a real 3rd level secret skill and it's based on tearing and cutting. It can bring my battle strength to the maximum. Jian Wuxuang clenched his hands. The absolute arts created by the Immortal Saint were divided into many levels. Just like the 7th level of the Immortal Saint, the absolute arts were also divided into 7 levels. The 2nd level absolute arts were usually created by a 2nd level true saint, and many 2nd level true saints were not qualified to create such absolute arts. And the 3rd level absolute arts were undoubtedly created by a 3rd level true saint. Of course, Jian Wuxuang was not a rank 3 true saint, but he was able to create Star Dream because his comprehension of spacetime principles and sword principle had reached the level of a rank 3 true saint. With the help of the gold-splitting secret manual and the void swordsmanship, he was able to create this move. This move was indeed extremely terrifying. The Star Dream swordsmanship alone is enough to kill an ordinary rank 2 true saint. If I guide the sword essence in the Blood Mountain sword, my strength will soar again. By then, even if I encounter a rank 2 peak true saint, I should be able to suppress him. Of course, if I encounter a rank 3 true saint, I'm afraid I won't be able to fight him. Jian Wuxuang chuckled. With a wave of his hand, he took away the treasures left behind by Holy Master Huocang and his interspatial ring. Then he turned around and left to find his next target. What Jian Wuxuang did not know was that the magic note Divine Kingdom had been completely shaken. The Magic Note Divine Kingdom occupied a total of 36 realms and was extremely powerful. The nest of the Magic Note Divine Kingdom was in the center of the 36 realms, on a floating land. On that piece of land there were countless palaces and pavilions. The grand atmosphere was endless. In the very center, at the peak of the Great Divine Mountain, a palace that was completely constructed from light purple crystals stood there. At this moment, in this purple palace, a purple-robed elder was kneeling respectfully. There was not a single human figure in front of him. There was only a towering purple statue. Although that purple statue was a human figure, it was extremely blurry, it was impossible to see its appearance clearly. King Holy Lord Huocang is dead. The purple-robed elder said respectfully. He did not even dare to raise his head. The purple-robed elder's voice rang out in the palace, but there was no response for a short period of time. After a while, Huocang, that little fellow, his master, is a good brother who followed me to conquer the world. Back then, in order to establish the Magic Note Divine Kingdom, I led all my brothers to battle for a full 100,000 years. During these 100,000 years of battle, 70 to 80% of those brothers died. There weren't many left. Huocang's master also died as a result. When he died, his master begged me to take care of his disciple for him. But now that Huocang is dead, how can I face that old brother? A hoarse and deep voice sounded in the hall. The voice seemed ordinary, but it contained endless dignity. The kneeling purple-robed old man did not even dare to breathe. After a while, the hoarse voice sounded again. Find out who did it? We are investigating, but according to the information we have now, the person who killed Holy Master Huocang should be the same person who killed the 6 level 1 true saints under the Magic Note Divine Kingdom. He is wearing a gray robe and a gray mask, so we can be sure that he is an expert from the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance. In addition, this Heaven-Cleaving Alliance expert is acting strangely. He likes to hide his aura and disguise himself as a holy master, said the purple-robed elder. He killed 6 level 1 true saints of my Magic Note Divine Kingdom in one breath, and he even killed Huocang. No matter who he is unforgivable. A hoarse voice sounded. Go find him and kill him. Yes. The purple-robed elder nodded respectfully and immediately stood up to leave. After the purple-robed elder left, the huge divine hall once again fell silent. After walking out of the divine hall, the purple-robed old man who was kneeling respectfully and did not even dare to breathe had completely changed his appearance. His gaze was ice-cold, his aura was cold, and his face also carried a certain amount of dignity. As soon as he walked out of the divine hall, many experts immediately surrounded him. The king has already ordered that no matter who that person is, find him and kill him. The purple-robed old man's voice was ice-cold. Yes, sir. The surrounding experts all replied in unison, their killing intent soaring to the skies. In addition, this person is from the Heaven-Cleaving Union. From the looks of it, he has accepted a mission from the Heaven-Cleaving Alliance. This mission might require him to kill a batch of experts from my Magic Note Divine Kingdom, and it should be those who have sinned. Pass down the order, tell the experts under my Magic Note Divine Kingdom to be careful during this period of time, especially those who have sinned. The purple-robed elder instructed. Yes. Everyone nodded. Soon, the high-level experts of the Magic Note Divine Kingdom began to be tempted. In a flash, it was already the 7th day since Jianghu killed Holy Master Huocang. Now Jianghu had arrived in another domain. In a huge mansion, it was originally peaceful and quiet. But suddenly, boom. A terrifying boom suddenly sounded, immediately breaking the silence of this world. Whoosh. A figure dashed out of the mansion and fled into the void as fast as he could. You want to escape? A cold shout echoed. Another 4 figures rushed out and chased after him at an amazing speed. Good Lord, there are 3 experts hiding in a mansion. 2 of them are at the peak of the 2nd rank and the last one is a 3rd rank true saint. How ruthless. Although Jianghu was wearing a mask, his expression under the mask was quite interesting. He glanced at the 4 people behind him. The aura they emitted was extremely shocking. You're tuning in to the Han Li's Wuxia Adventures YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.